If you're on the other side of the law, you don't ring the fucking police, you don't get them involved. That's sort of how it works. I never used to believe when people say police could be rough. I got beat up by a woman copper. She knocked 10 bells of shit out of me once I was handcuffed.
And they would have killed someone. And they'd have killed someone for money. Yeah.
Yeah, twice. First time was with a screwdriver.
All right, so welcome Russ Lee. Russ. So the reason I just come here today is because I've heard a little bit about your story, and I think it's fair to say after a life of being maybe involved with crime more than anything else, the last few years you've managed to turn your life around quite well, and you're now embarking on a stand-up comedy career.
Yes.
So you're exactly the kind of person that I want to talk to. So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
What I probably want to do is ask you a few pertinent questions and then just watch you roll, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So briefly, why don't you tell me about your early life growing up and maybe sort of the first 10, 15 years, and we'll go from there.
Grew up with a single parent mother. Got one brother, one sister, both older than me. We grew up in a 2-bedroom flat. Not much money, but a good upbringing. I've not had a bad upbringing in any way, shape or form. I can't say that induced anything. Went to secondary school as and when I felt like it. I got asked, early on in my life, I used to have to have speech therapy. And didn't find out until I was 5 or 6, I was deaf in one ear partially. So I never got really any early education, which is very fundamental as to how I started acting as I was going on through my school years, because I didn't learn the basics. So I think nowadays they'd say you've got ADHD. It was just called being a little cunt when I was a kid. And I was the ADHD that would stand on top of the school roof, chucking roof tiles at a dinner lady. That was the level I'm at, not the toy ones. But yeah, I got asked to leave secondary school when I was 14 years old because I pinched a dinner lady's car. The headmaster sat me down and said, I don't think school's for you. Come back when you're doing your exams. So I just went out there, started doing a few naughty bits, got arrested, and a good friend of the family got sent down to the police station by my mum, who says, you're going to come and work for me or your mum's not letting you go home.
So how did the exams go?
I got a B in drama. And which I mentioned, my wife still thinks I make that up.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, she actually got to me. She says, I want you to prove to me you got a B in drama. So I Facebooked some old school friends I've not spoke to in 25 years and said, can you confirm I got a B in drama? And they said, yeah. And she said, I think you're getting them to lie for you.
Well, to be fair, it sounds like you wanted to live a very dramatic life. So yeah, it paid off. Okay, so coming out of school then, a lot of behavioural issues, which you put down potentially to comprehension around your hearing and things like that. Coming from a single parent home, do you think that can be a factor?
Yeah, definitely. I had a male role model was my granddad and my uncle, which were always there for us. But I think it definitely can be a factor. But by the time my mum got round to me, she was probably exhausted from my older brother and my sister. So, and I was always sort of looked after myself in a lot of senses as well. So
I remember at school, some of the kids whose dads weren't at home used to get stick from other kids as well. Did you ever experience anything like that?
I never knew we were poor until someone told me.
But in terms of your dad not being around?
Yeah, you get a stick over it. Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, but I weren't shy about having a scrap even when I was a kid. So if someone pushed the wrong buttons, I would throw a chair at him at school.
So we're 21, 22. We're getting into all sorts for whatever reason that we're doing it. What's the first wall that we run into? How old are you when somebody stops you in your tracks from that point? Were you free and clear for 20 years?
No, I got raided. I can remember I had a stolen car on my mate's drive, and my mate, I went to school with him, but he worked at the school we went to, and I said, can I put a car on your drive for a bit? I said, it's wrong way around, is what you call a car. I'd change the place. He said, yeah, stick it on the drive. And then I got a phone call in the middle of the day. It was like, the police from my drive, they've stopped me. They're on my drive. I just listen, put them on the phone, so it's my car, it's no to do with him. And that was the first time house got proper raided.
Did his house get raided as well?
No, they didn't raid his house because I said to him on the phone, it's my car, it's no to do with him. He was a normal working lad. So I didn't want to drop him in any shit. And to be fair to the police, they just said, if it's your car, we'll come to you. So they seized the car off his drive, then come and raided my house.
They're not bad of them. Think about it.
Do you know what? As I go along in this and you talk about the police and you can say what you want, because if you say something about the police good on the internet, people go, oh, fucking grass or something like that. If you like police have got a job to do.
Yeah.
And if your house gets burgled and you're a normal man, you're ringing the police. if you're on the other side of the law, you don't ring the fucking police, you don't get them involved. That's sort of how it works. But I've met some coppers over the years that have been all right. They all want the same result. Don't get me wrong, but I had a copper come to me when my son was about 10 years old. He seen me outside a garage. He went, Russ, I know you wanted. I said, you're not arresting me in front of my son. I said, there's one of you and one of me, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
And he just went, tell you what, he goes, if I follow you back to your house, he said, drop your son in to your wife. He said, and then jump in a car, mate. So he followed me a couple of miles back. He passed my son to my wife. And then I went, I goes, right, Connor, he goes, I got coffee, have you? I goes, yeah, sound, I got in the car. But then I've met some apps, and I never used to believe when people say police could be rough. I got beat up by a woman copper. She knocked 10 bells of shit out of me once I was handcuffed, but I was trying to let the handbrake off in the car and everything as well. So, but yeah, they got on top of the show.
Well, we just saw some footage yesterday in Manchester Airport.
I've seen that, yeah.
And when some of the CCTV, I think somebody's phone recording went onto the internet. And
It was the bit where the copper stamped on his head.
the bit where the cop was basically,
That man had all the recording. They just decided to release that bit only. That was it. It's just, yeah.
And in the days after that, everybody was calling for blood from the police. You know, the officers should be prosecuted, fired, all this. And then we see the actual footage, the whole thing end to end. And the guys acting like Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, watch the Wednesday, yeah.
So there's questions being asked now because the internet being what it is. People are saying, well, should women be in these kind of roles? And sounds to me like the one that you met definitely should.
Oh, shit, yeah, listen, I'll be honest with you, I probably deserve the good hiding.
Yeah.
But the quick, I got pulled for drink driving and I got out of the car. And if you blow a certain amount to the side of the road, you take you to the police station, then for a piss test or a blood test. So the copper said, we're arresting you for drink driving. So I've chucked my keys to my mate. I went, take my car, get gone. I don't want them seizing my car. So they put me in the back of the police car. And as I'm in the back of the police car, my mate's go over and slammed his hands on the bonnet. If you're arresting me, my mate, you're arresting me as well. So as they've got out to deal with him, they're slamming him on the bonnet. I've started taking handbrake off the car because I don't cover him around the front. So the car starts rolling back. So they pulled me out, put me against the wall, gassed me, or the pepper spray thing.
CS, is it?
Yeah, and she just knocked the shit out of me. She ripped all, but she kept punching me. She knew how to punch as well. But she kept punching me in the side. And the funny thing is, we've got to the police station. I'd then blown negative on the blow test, so they have to release me. And my mate, who wasn't getting arrested for any reasons, stood at the counter. He went, well, we're keeping you, mate. And he went, you better get rearrested for something now. Well, fuck, what can I do in a police station? And then they rearrested me for interfering with a police vehicle to let the handbrake off. So we went to the interview and I was saying to the cop, I go, no, the handbrake works. You know what a torque converter is on an handbrake? And they went, listen, just get him out of this fucking police station. It's a pain in the arse.
So you having this kind of experience then, because it has just come up now and there's discourse around it. Sounds, you're a reformed criminal.
Yeah.
As a reformed criminal who's dealt with, you know, male and female police officers, what do you think the answer is to a lot of the blowback seems to be the fact that this lady got punched in the face and her nose was broken and she was crying.
Yep.
And what I'm reading right now from, you know, various people, there's a lot of support, you know, a lot of appreciation and empathy for what's going on in that minute. And what's interesting is we've got the empathy now, but we didn't have it when, you know, in the first place, people just took their own conclusions from a little bit of footage.
Yeah.
But, you know, the police force consists of big blokes.
You've got your TSG units, which are tactical support groups.
Yeah.
They're the ones that will come and take your door off at 6 a.m. They're the ex-army lads. I've been raided a couple of times at garages I've had. And I've never been one that's kicked off with police because I don't see the point of being tied up on your own floor. They're coming to raid you, they're coming to
losing battle.
It's just losing battle, yes. It's some of them are ex-army lads, some are ex-special forces. They can tangle someone and wipe me up on the floor like a child. So there's no point in kicking off with. But there's roles in the police that women are good at.
Yeah.
And we've got strengths and weaknesses as men and women, and everyone's saying that men and women are the same. They're not. Women have stronger things than men and vice versa. Women on the front line in policing can sometimes de-escalate things. There can be, if you've got a woman with a calmer voice and a calmer aura.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get the fiery ones that are just going over the top because they're a woman.
The lady who beat the shit out of you, was she a fiery one? Or did she just need to beat the shit out of you?
I think she was in it right.
Fair enough.
Look, at the time I was like, wow, what a bitch. You know, now looking back, yes, if I'd have been there, I'd have kicked the shit out of it. So, I've probably lost more than I've won over the year, but I've never run.
Well, I was watching something last night, and there was a guy who'd been arrested 100 times, and they picked him up for murder. Yeah. And he couldn't have been better behaved in the cells. You know, it was getting them, told him to get up, no arguments, nothing. And
they'd always watch out for.
It made the whole thing go better, and I think he probably got a better outcome for himself because, you know, he ended up getting 26 years, but it was a pretty brutal thing that happened. But it seems like the people who've really been through it just know to calmly just comply and all the rest of it.
It's the only life you're making all is yourself when you kick off in certain scenarios. If you're getting nicked, you're getting nicked. And the thing is, if you're a copper and you come to my door and you're arresting me for something, me coming out of a bullshit sentence and arguing with you is not going to stop me getting arrested. It's not going to stop the process of being took to the police station, put in a cell, interviewed, them doing their evidence, and then either getting refused charged or charged with something. That process is still happening. So you might as well just go, yep, son, let's go.
So as a piece of advice, you know, we obviously don't want people to commit crimes, but if they do find themselves in trouble with the law or being arrested, then the best advice to somebody maybe who's a little bit younger is to just not fight, not argue. And
if you're getting nicked, you're getting nicked. All you're going to do is paint the worst picture for yourself when you get to court. Because when you get booked in at the custody desk, the custody sergeant will say, was there anything happened while we were arresting Mr. Lee? And the arresting officer will say, no, he was complying. Or alternative, no, we had to tie him up on his own floor and cable tie him and push his head in the floor, you know, and put his knee on his back.
You got the full hog roast.
And the thing there, I've been there and done it. I got arrested once when we had a car lot on Hayden Road in Nottingham. And they come for firearms, so they come heavy. And they come running on police, get down, and I had my son with me then. And I said, again, my son's here. So they got the police, got my wife down, let tell my son there was a helicopter to close the road off and everything. And then when they took us in the back, said, right, we're strip searching you. You're allowed to keep one article of clothing at a time for your own dignity. I just stripped off, went, ta-da! Not shy. Don't get wrong, not for any reason, but not shy.
A cold bay.
And one of my mates who was with there, one who's passed away now, he was a big lad. And he says, don't kick off with that copper, Russ. He said, why? He went, he's ex-SAS. He was only a little bloke. He said he would tie you up on the floor in knots.
Yeah.
So there's just no point with it.
Did you feel like in the absence of that father figure, maybe you had to be that kind of person?
I had to learn to hold my own quick. Yeah, definitely. I don't know if that was down to the absence of a father figure or where I grew up, but
we've got a lot of issues with crime now in modern society, and single parent homes are a lot higher than they were 20, 30 years ago, you know. And you know, there's some thought that maybe there's a link between breakdown of the traditional family unit being the norm and criminality.
In my experience, most crimes are financially related, even when you're a child. So if you're a kid and you're going to school and everyone's got the latest Air Jordan trainers and you've got the gold or two stripe and your mum's doing two jobs, you know you ain't getting them Air Jordans unless you go out and nick a Costco or rob someone's shed for a lawnmower. Then you're going to do that. That's what I've done.
So it might not be the fact that it's two parents, it's just the amount of money coming in because it's a single parent. It's interesting, actually. I never thought about
it. Finances play the biggest thing on anything. If someone said to me when I was a kid, I bet Christmas is crap in your ass, isn't it? And I was like, what do you mean? Because we ain't got dad. I said, Christmas is brilliant in my ass. There's always a massive stack of it. And to this day, I don't know how my mum done it. You know, she had two jobs. She worked her socks off. And I know as a parent to three boys, how expensive Christmas is. And when there's me and my wife that work. So how she done it, I don't know. But yeah, crime to me is always, I've never done any crime wanting to get notoriety from it as I was growing up or as I got older. I'd done it for financial reasons.
You came away from that experience at school knowing that you needed to earn.
Yeah.
That's a driver.
Yeah.
And so you started to work quite young, first job from memory at 15?
15. That was my first full-time job. I actually had a job in a factory. Me and my mate who I went to school with, we got £1 an hour packing bait boxes off a plastic injection moulding line. And we went into the office and negotiated. I paid to £1.25 an hour, and I felt like
25%.
I felt like Richard Branson when I walked out of the office.
Yeah.
But every week we'd go and buy a new pair. Well, we'd go to town, buy a new pair of trainers with it or whatever, you know.
About 50 quid a week.
I think somebody 35, 40 quid a week. But that guy exploited us.
Yeah.
And that, every now and then I see him now, to be honest with you, I have a laugh with him, but he exploited us proper.
What did that 50 quid a week do? And it's just basically trainers.
That was me showing other kids look, you might have had your mum and dad ferrying you about from here to there and buying you shit. I'm buying my own.
Right away, basically, there's an association between your self-worth and how you appear to other people.
As I was younger, 100%. I was
natural.
I wanted people to know what I got or what I was earning or what I was doing. Now I don't care what anybody thinks.
Well, we have adults older than you now who live for that.
Yeah.
You know, I know of people 40s, 50s who want to project a certain lifestyle that they can't reasonably afford and maybe don't even have, you know.
Yeah.
I've been out on holiday and I've seen people take photos smiling, and as soon as I've taken the picture, their face drops.
Yeah.
And it's just all about...
Too many people want to look rich and not get rich. I've said to all my kids, don't try and look rich, try and get rich. Try and, you know, get financially stable.
Well, maybe society needs to value our contribution to each other rather than how much money we've got as well.
Or stop caring what other people think.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey says, unless you're willing to give up a year of your life to go back to basics, then you care too much about what other people think in the world. And I used to have a rented villa in Greece. I used to have a rented house with pillars on the wall. I used to have a couple of cars on the driveway, which one I'd be paying for a bit here, a bit there and stuff like that. And it was all an outside perception. It was all to look a certain way. And then in about 2015, I said, my missus, right, we're buying a cheap shit at last, but it's going to be ours. And over the last 10 years, we've built it all from that again.
That's the unattainable dream now for a lot of people. You know, a small 2-bedroom flat is harder and harder. I mean, especially if you're, you know, in London.
I disagree. And the reason I disagree with that is because when, like I said to you earlier on, when I got my first house, I brought it, I'd done 3 jobs, we didn't do takeaways, didn't get to the pub, I didn't know what Starbucks was. And I'm not saying people that buy coffee every day shouldn't be able to afford, but you need to prioritise your spending. And unless you're willing to take a couple of years off, my nephew's just come out of the army.
Yeah.
He's buying his first house, he's 23 years old. He doesn't waste money. When I used to say to somebody, fancy coming for a pint, I can't afford it. It's not that he can't afford it, it's prioritising. And too many people won't prioritise in this day and age. Too many people are just waiting for, they've got a reason and we're being priced out. And I don't agree with that, to be honest with you. It's whether you're willing to buy what you can afford, not what you want.
So if you live in London, for example, if you're born and raised in London and you want to get a little flat and you're looking at $250,000 to be able to actually commute to where you want to work, I mean, minimum wage in London with London waiting, you're probably looking at around about 30 grand.
What you're doing in London to earn that makes you want to be in London. I mean, I wasn't brought up in London, but if I couldn't afford somewhere in London and I wasn't earning London money, I wouldn't be in London. If you was there, like with the stand-up I'm trying to do now, London's probably one of the best places to be, to do it. I know I couldn't afford to live in London. So,
well, if that's where your family are, that's where all your friends are,
yeah.
And, you know, and not to mention that if you're not staying at home, you've got to rent somewhere before you buy somewhere as well. You know, there's Help to Buy schemes and things like that, but I think there's a little bit in what people say about prioritising, but the financial reality of it is that wages have stagnated.
London's an anomaly, I think, to the rest of the country. Same as if you wanted to buy somewhere in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I think Cardiff's the same. But yeah, or, you know, if you want to buy in a capital city, it's always going to be more expensive. So it's a bit of an anomaly. But the rest of the country, I think there's enough opportunities out there for people to earn money if you want to.
Legally.
Have you? There's other ways as well.
Well, you were earning legally. So up until about 21, 22, you were straight down the line, grafting and earning good.
I was a little tearaway when I was a kid up until I got the job at 15 at the window place. And then that boss, I rang in sick once, and then 10 minutes later he was in my bedroom getting me out of bed because he used to pick me up on the way. That man didn't take no for an answer, but I didn't get a day off sick. There was no days off sick. He taught another person that taught me a work ethic after watching my mum do 2 jobs.
That is something that I think a lot of people would perceive as an act of abuse, but I see that as an act of care. And I'm not sure who's right. So to me, someone to care about you that much, because it's not the most productive use of their day, probably.
No, 100%. As I look back now, I think, God, he must have been... I'd done a best man speech at my brother's wedding 3 weeks ago and he was there. And he calls me afterwards, he says, you just get better with age. And we had a laugh. And I was telling my son some of the stories of what he used to do to me. He nail gunned me to a van once. And I used to wear denim jackets to work and denim jeans. And he nail gunned the outline of me on a glass rack on a van. He drove me down Trent Bridge Road in Nottingham when the cricket was on. And I just think, nah, you'd get touch call for it.
Were you cooperating or did he hold you down?
There was no cooperating. There was just, I was against it.
Jesus. Okay, well, I'm not so sure. I thought this is a guy who believed in you, but I think he was trying to kill you.
But it's YTS lad. I was a YTS lad. And we got hammers thrown at us. If you didn't pass the drill when someone asked for a drill up on the ladder, you were getting something chucked at you. I've had young lads work for me since when I had one of my garages, when we had a body shop and mechanics place. You can't treat people like that anymore. And it's sad because I asked my mate someone to paint the fence for me a couple of weeks ago. I said, don't send me a young lad. I said, I'm not interested in anybody under 25. I said, because they're just on the phone. I said, it would just be draining to watch them trying to do something. And I do think that tough love makes it a little bit harder to, mold people a little bit. So
it's interesting because you would get a lot of people challenging that, but I do get it.
They're the people challenging it, and they're the people who've worked on building sites, do you reckon?
I think the people challenging, I think there's a lot of people in the world, especially in the West, who want a utopia right now, and they want everyone to be nice to each other, and they want everyone to just have an easy life. And
that's not life.
Yeah, it's not.
That's not life at all.
Well, part of the reason that this podcast exists is because I'm looking to understand the meaning of life, what it is actually all about. And I'm trying to draw from maybe Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism. I think one of the core, I'm not
You're religious yourself?
No. So what I'm going to get into in some of the episodes of this, I was an agnostic atheist. Right. Basically, I don't believe in God. I don't know there's no God. I don't know.
No one does.
No one knows. So
there's some really good authors out there.
Yeah. So I work in a creative industry as like my core role, and I want to be more creative. And I know that a lot of creative people dabbled with various drugs, and so DMT, LSD, mushrooms, wasn't really none of that was calling to me. But I got the urge to go to Peru, and I went down to the jungle, and I spent a few days in the Sacred Valley, and I went through some shamanic rituals and ayahuasca, and basically this god that I denied existed appeared front and center, and basically a load of information hit me like a brick in minutes. And then I guess the 2 years since that, I've been trying to unpack it all. Yeah. Like a zip file is. You compress something on the computer so it's small when you email it. Yeah. So it's like this zip file was dropped in my brain, and it's been expanding. And ever since, I've been trying to understand what the lessons
are. We're trying to process what you learned from
It's called integration. I'm still trying to integrate it. So I am reaching out to people who specialize in...
Did it change your life?
It changed me as a person. I've always been a very liberal person, and I think that it's a cop-out. It's, again...
What's a cop-out?
I think being overly to the left is a simple way of being nice to people and being nice to everyone, but it's not necessarily being...
I found some of the most selfish, horriblest people I've ever met are leftists. Fall off to the left.
I see
because they tell you what you want or what they want the world to be, but they don't put into place.
I see a lot of venom and aggression from people on the left, and a refusal to have a conversation sometimes, unless the conversation... Things are what they are on a Monday and a Friday, no matter what happened on Wednesday, I feel sometimes. And I don't think my views have shifted too much, but I know I was a hardwired leftist. And now, as far as I can tell, I'm classed as centre-right since the last 5 years. Just like my views have changed in the last couple of years, but I would have still been sort of centre-left.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I'm somehow centre-right.
Yeah.
And I guess
I live in a Reform UK area.
Well, the whole country's a Reform UK.
Yeah, and it's Lee Anderson's area. To be fair, I got stabbed about 2 years ago
by Lee Anderson.
No, not by Lee Anderson. But he was on the phone to me.
That would have just...
It did all that bit cracking. I mean, edit it as you see fit. To be fair, I got stabbed about 2 years ago by Lee Anderson.
Yes.
But I got stabbed on my own driveway, and I couldn't tell you who our local politicians were at the time. He was on the phone to me, emailed me, walked past me, I shook my hand, had a chat with him about it, and he spoke to the police about what was going on about it and everything as well, because the police kept coming to me and saying, you can't do anything to the person that stabbed you, got to sign this paperwork. It's some, I can't remember what it's called, a section certain or what you have to sign, say you're not going to take action. And they kept coming to me every other day saying, we've received information, you're going to do this, you can do that. And Lee Anderson was like, listen, he was there. What I'm saying with the politics thing is I'm not really a Reform UK voter, but he was someone who was there, and I couldn't tell you who the other members of Parliament are who were elected in that area.
Well, we've got Ed Miliband, Red Ed, and we've got Sally Jameson, Doncaster. Oh, she's a young MP. And then we've got a mixture now of Labour and Reform councillors.
Do you know if voting made that much of a difference, we won't be allowed to do it?
No. Well, I see a lot of things online now, like it's basically, a trolley problem.
No.
Well, basically, there's a trolley problem where you can choose one outcome or another, and you have to impact one group of people or another. Yes. So normally the trolley problem is if there's a train, like a trolley on a track, and you have a switch, you can switch it left or you can switch it right. And normally there's one person tied to the tracks on the left, and there's maybe 6 people tied to the tracks on the right. If you choose the left, you only kill one person.
Depends who the 6 are.
Well, yeah. But I think now the trolley problem in voting is that you have a switch, and no matter what you do, it's the exact same outcome. So there's 6 people on the left and 6 people on the right. So, and it's interesting that in the West we have bipartisan power structures in DC. So you've got the Democrats and Republicans. And then in the UK, traditionally you have Conservatives and Labour. Now you've kind of got Labour and Reform. And
that was the only reason Labour got in.
It was split.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently if there was a vote today, Labour would not get in. It just a Reform government today.
I don't think it will. But again, I don't. I've stopped watching the news because it's depressing. You're saturated in just crap, and most of them are too biased anyway. I can't watch the BBC anymore. But if you don't watch the news for a month, and when I got rid of my social media, my whole perception on everything changed, because I just looked at the world as I see it then, as I viewed it and what's going on around me. And that's how people should vote. They should vote, not what's going on in Europe, not what's going on in London, what's going on in their local area, who's affecting change in that local area. That's how people should vote. It's
part of the self-harm that the left does is they refuse to even have that conversation. And what I mean is you're now engaged in stand-up, so you're going to meet all kinds of people, and these are a lot of people are in the arts, really. So when I was doing stand-up, I met people in TV and theatre, and they're all very left-leaning. Well, the majority are, and there's generally a refusal to have a conversation. So, for example,
that could work with both things. Far right's the same as well, though, aren't they? It's
I think the far right is more fringe than the far left. I think the far left is almost fashionable. It's fashionable to be.
Where I live now is quite inherently a racist area. A lot, not the younger people, the older people. And I've signed pubs with the older people, and I'd class some of them as actually good friends as well, but they know I don't share their beliefs.
Do you think their beliefs have changed in the last 10 years?
No, I think they've gotten worse because of the media.
So they have changed, and the media is almost pushing. There's a view really among the right that the media censor a lot of what happens to preserve order or, to protect certain groups. And then the groups that are allegedly being protected feel like the media's constantly against them, and I guess that would be minority groups, Muslim interests. So the right feel like the media are potentially, covering things up, and the left feel like the media are blowing things up in terms of the footage from Manchester, for example. The Manchester airport attack on those police officers is all over every...
It should have been all over every media channel with a full video initially, not just the clips to cause drama, to cause a bit of hate.
Yeah.
But that's what the media does.
And you decided just to pull away from that completely.
I can't stand watching it anymore because it's when you watch Donald Trump, America, they've elected him, good luck to him, but you sit and watch him and it's like people go, yeah, he's one of us. I don't want one of us in power. I want a really clever guy in power. I want someone who knows what they're doing, who's someone who knows,
Well, there's talk of Donald Trump in public and Donald Trump in private, and
he's a clever man. I think he's a clever man, but
I think what I've heard, and I obviously don't know, I don't know anybody who knows Donald Trump, there's been talk that in private, he's a much more measured, considered person, and he does the most extreme thing on camera that he can.
I think he knows how to bring people to the table to negotiate with some of the outlandish stuff he does. That's what I've seen from what I've seen.
Well, looking at it from a neutral perspective, NATO countries have never contributed 5%.
And that's where they're going at.
And effectively, America's been subsidizing Europe. And by doing that, America's also been keeping Europe weak.
We'd be fucked if we had a world war now.
But with the 5% contribution, and Poland and Norway ready, and we are looking to become a much stronger force as a European entity than 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it felt like maybe that suited the Americans for us to be a little bit beholden and dependent.
Yeah,
so it's interesting that somebody who's so America first may have done what's necessary to actually strengthen the UK and Europe. We constantly have Russian ships in and out of our waters. And there was a lot of pressure on the...
London's mostly owned by Russians, isn't it? Most places in London.
Well, it depends who you ask. So some people say Russian. It depends on what their agenda is. So some people say it's owned by Russians. Some people say it's owned by Indians. So apparently most property owners in London are Indian.
Yeah.
Indian born. And who knows? But I think really...
they're the next superpower, India.
Yes. Well, they've already overtaken the UK in GDP, but there's a lot of problems to scale things past a certain point. I think China are realizing that now. China are almost...
I think countries get to be superpowers when they stand on the backs of the people of the country. Once you bring in human rights into a country, then it dwindles down. That's why China's got where they're at, and now it's India, because they don't care about the people.
I think that China spent a long time trying to limit their population growth with the one-child policy.
Yeah, they're big.
And I think they really regret that now, because there's a huge demographic problem of an aging population, and maybe AI and robots is the way that we're going to counteract that. And we're all, So when you're in your nursing home one day, you'll have your bed sorted out by a robot, very friendly robot with a human face and all the rest of it. But
can't wait.
Yeah, so it is almost, it could go one of two ways. It could be used as a help, or it could be used as a replacement for people. And then we're looking at some kind of weird dystopia where rubber creatures are putting us to bed.
I showed my mum a clip of Terminator 2 and told her it was happening in another country for a nobble just to see.
Well, I saw footage of, isn't that a RoboCop? I saw footage in China of the police, and there's a robo-ball.
Yeah.
And it fires a big net. And we're on the way to Ed 209. Hopefully, we can undo some of this progress. We can learn as we go, but there's a big fear that, the capitalist drive to improve AI systems and robots as quickly as possible, it just leads to inevitable disaster.
The problem with AI is humans are behind it, and humans have to weaponize everything. We have to make everything so we're more powerful than somebody else, not use it for the benefit of mankind.
So we're a dynamic of America's AI versus China's AI.
Yes, but
Russia's AI. And that ultimately can only lead to one place, which is potential destruction. But I don't understand the view that if we achieve super intelligence in that a machine could be 10 times more intelligent than a person, that automatically leads to destruction.
No, again, we're humans behind it. That's the failure of all of it.
Well, maybe it's that a bad guy could use that intelligence to do what they needed to do.
We're on this planet, if we're lucky, for 75, 80 years. I don't understand why more and more people don't just get along and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But everyone's power hungry. Everyone wants to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that when you've been to a certain amount in life, that it's good to hear someone's opinions on things like that, because you're over a lot of drawn in your life, and you've been to a lot, and it's probably crystallized what's important in life.
Which is normally when you talk to someone either politics or religion, it ends up in an argument.
Because that's the problem.
Most people aren't open to listen to other people's opinions. No one's right or wrong. It's just an opinion. That's all it is.
Well, I saw a graphic on social media, and I kind of put so much faith in the accuracy of these things, but there was a suggestion that the right have a much broader spectrum of conversation points than the left, which is quite narrow. And if you deviate from those talking points, then you're a villain or you're evil or whatever.
The problem with the right is at the minute they're painting a picture in the country that everything's wrong because of people's coming in on boats.
And my son said to me, "Oh, was it like growing up in the 80s?" I said, "It was good from what I can remember, but we were poor. There was no, there's rose-tinted spectacles when you look back on the world. There's always been waiting lists. There's always been poverty somewhere. There's always been some cost of living crisis somewhere or another. I can remember when my mum would go and do a shop with a fiver and 9 hours through the weekend. Yeah. You know, the NHS, there's always been waiting lists. There always will be. It'll always be in trouble because of how big it is.
Well, the suggestion that immigration is being weaponized, so it's almost being used as a weapon against the UK, in that the countries where people are coming from are potentially pushing out their worst elements, so they're improving their society
By getting rid of
the worst people.
I'd want to come here. If I lived in Syria, I'd want to come here. I totally understand why a young lad at 20 would want to come here when perhaps he's got a family here or relatives here that's, you know, doing what they're doing and making a bit of money. But from the criminal aspect of it, if you wanted to go and get a couple of key of brown or a couple of key of coke from somewhere, you're going to an Albania in the Midlands. I can only speak for them sort of areas, and I didn't do that for a job. I just know it from people I dealt with. You're going to an Albanian bloke. You're going to an Eastern European guy. I don't know any English guy who's at the top level of that job.
Yeah. Well, we tried to start this project a year ago, and we'd acquired everything, and we were burgled, and they took pretty much everything we had, and it kind of set us back and nearly destroyed our business. You know, it really impacted us. So a decent number of people nearly lost their jobs, and some of the items that were stolen were unique. And we found them on sale in Romania, you know, and it does seem to suggest that potentially, on my focalized level, my experience, that we are importing criminality, and I would rather have somebody born overseas who wants to contribute to our society and do well than somebody who's born here and just wants to hurt people. No offense, but when you were a younger man, I would have swapped you out for a young guy.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
Who was, I do well and well.
I've had more stress, and I agree with you on the immigration side of it, but I've had more stress or grief over my life with shitbag white English lads that are entitled, that just don't want to work for a living, that have been stabbed twice. That was by 2 English white people. I've never had particular grief with anybody from abroad, but I do see the element of what's coming in. See, if you're coming into this country, there's ways to do it. There's legal ways to do it. You can get on a plane in Albania for 25 quid on Zoo Air, whatever it's called, to England. So why are you having to come through 5 different countries to do it unless you've got a record, unless you're naughty? So, and that's where, so you go to Australia, you've travelled a bit. I don't know if you've been to Australia. When I went there, wow, the paperwork I had to fill out, 'cause I had, same with America. Luckily, all my convictions are spent, so I got into America.
When was the last time you were in the States?
2000, when I turned 40, it's 2019, I went to Vegas and Los Angeles. But I know it's changed again now, isn't it?
It might be a little bit, yeah. You definitely want to make sure you're free and clear before you leave.
Well, I'd done my visa before and they asked her.
Yeah.
And I spoke to one of the embassies and said, they can still turn you back. They said, no matter how much paperwork you do this, and they can still turn you back that end if they see fit.
Yeah.
But there's no sort of policy like that in England, is there?
It kind of breaks my heart a little bit that there are good people who want to work hard and contribute, who are being,
we'd be fought with immigration,
segregate,
proper immigration.
But they're a victim of the system to a degree, but they're also a victim of the people who are coming over here illegally, like on the boats without even being able to get a passport. You know, I see a lot of videos online. I know a lot of it's sensationalist and it's there to outrage people, but you do see people coming over on small boats dumping their passports in the water.
I had a guy who I knew in the part of Nottingham from Kosovo. This guy about 15 years, and he said, if you ever want anything dealing with properly, Russ, as in like someone dealing with, he said, give us a shot. He said, we'll get a lad over here to do it. He said, and they'll be out of the country and they'll be back in with a new passport within a couple of months. And they would have killed someone. And they'd have killed someone from one. Yeah. And they were, but their premise on it is they'll be out of the country and back in with a new ID, so they're not bothered.
So I think the way that the government is going is that they want facial recognition, AI, they want cameras in the streets, and they're trying to put out some good press now about, they caught a 70-year-old man with a 6-year-old girl who was on some kind of sexual harm prevention order, you know, so they're trying to put forward the good news stories, like we managed to stop this man who had a little girl with him when he was not supposed to. But again, so what happens to the man? Well, he gets prosecuted for breaching his order and the girl is put to safety. But I think those examples are used as a means to maybe control everybody.
If you sell drugs for a living and people ask for drugs, you're going to get 10, 15 years, right? If you nonce a kid up, you might get a year, you might get a point of register. That's
A lot of people get suspended.
That's how I think. That's how I think. That's wrong. And it's an illness. It's in their head. You're not changing someone's sexual preference. So if you're that way inclined, there should be chemical castration. I mean, I know you can't go to the point where you'd put a bullet in their head because we don't live in that sort of society, but that's just wrong that people don't get lifed off for doing that.
So what the government seems to be doing is they want more and more advanced methods to catalogue and track and catch people, but there doesn't seem to be a problem catching people. The problem is keeping them when they've been caught because they're normally out the next day, you know, and it almost feels like the government's priority is one of control rather than actually...
But if someone don't give a fuck, you can't control them.
No, but what I mean is if there are robots in the street saying, I've just seen so-and-so walk past and he's got, and he's gone, you know, then they're more interested in controlling the population. So there are streets, I believe, in China, and I say I believe because I don't 100%, I've not researched all this, I don't from memory what I've seen online. There are streets in China where you have to scan your ID to get out and go to the next street. And it's not a million miles away from what's going on in London now with the facial.
They were on about trying to bring sort of them sort of things in where you have to scan your ID to go out your own area. Like if you want to go from Nottingham to Derby or Doncaster to Sheffield, you have to scan. That's crazy.
So you've got a scarf over your face on certain streets in London now. The police will tell you to pull the scarf down. You know, a lot of kids are going on with balaclavas on the bikes and stuff.
We've got them all around our end.
Yeah.
I tried to give one of them a nudge with a car the other day. Being a little prick, and the car had automatic braking, so he slammed the brakes on. So he's gone like that, but he knew what I was doing. And
well, I'd probably say that is a criminal offence, quite a serious one.
Yeah.
But
I'd have sat in the cells quite happy for 24 hours for that one.
You might have got 36 hours for running somebody up with your car, I don't know.
It was a nudge. It was a look.
Yeah, with a nudge, Your Honour. Basically, you were working hard until your early 20s, and then it kind of wasn't getting you where you wanted to be as quickly as you wanted to be there. So that's when, you know, maybe a darker side of illegality started to take power.
Even when I'd done naughty stuff, I still worked hard. When I had a garage, I was the first there in the morning. I was the last to leave at night. I'd go to an auction at night to buy cars. But what I found is that the systems that are in place are not there to support you if you're brought up with fuck all. There was no bank that would lend me money. There was no credit card that would give me a credit card, you know. And this is even when I owned a house as well. But I just didn't tick the right boxes. I went to Prince's Trust. I want to start my own business. We don't invest in that sort of thing. So the only way for me to get a bit of money was to do other shit.
Yeah. Well, the business that I work for, well, I own, you know, we're profitable. I'm making a profit, and I can't borrow for the business at a rate of less than, at the moment, about 40% flat, which is about, if it was an APR loan, it'd be 80%. Wow. So 80% interest is the best deal on the market for the majority of businesses in the UK, which means you just don't borrow, you don't invest, you don't grab.
Yeah, of course.
You know, can you imagine 80%? And when they call you with these, I've got a deal for you. We can give you a loan, and it'll help you grow the business, and it'd be 40% flat rate. You know, we like to talk about flat rate because it doesn't sound as bad, but if I don't think there's any business in the world that can turn 100 grand into 180 grand just to break even on the loan, let alone 140 grand on a flat rate, you know. But we want the economy's contracting right now. It's just shrunk again by 0.1%. It was 0.1% last time it was checked. So the economy's shrinking, and there are 6 million businesses in the UK. You know, a lot of businesses, but the majority of them are tiny, and they have no access to investment to grow. And I assume that does drive what might be called white collar crime or illegality, or, you know, people doing whatever they can to try and survive.
What drives that? Again, it's financial. I was at court 12, 13 years ago for mortgage fraud, but it was £4.5 million worth. There were 17 of us on it. They had to put us in the the public gallery, they couldn't fit us in the dock. There was that many
Is
of
that
us on
classed
it.
as a crime syndicate? Is that one?
It was, I don't think it was classed as a crime scene. It was classed as organised crime, which I love the fact that they all think we sat down having meetings in the middle or something. But there was people in the dock that had never met each other. The solicitor that was involved in it, the guy that was doing, well, I was only a cog in it. I didn't organise it, but I was part of it. But as part and parcel of it, they arrested my wife. And my wife's a youth worker. She never had a cigarette in her life. She's the nicest person in the world. And the copper come to me and said, we've got to arrest your wife. He said, but we know she's not one of your shower shit. So she can come and hand herself in at the police station. We're not going to handcuff her. He said, we'll do the interview. I'll give her a pre-prepared statement to read. She said she got to the interview. The copper said, right, you don't want to read that statement and make you look guilty. She said, he said you'd say that. And then they said to my wife, tell us anything, because it'll help him. She says, he said you'd say that as well. And she was really nervous or teary. And then she had to have a drug test called a trigger offence, anything to her finances. So you had to have a drug test. She come back positive for heroin. Their machine was faulty. She said, but at that point, she pissed herself. Laughing, she said she just weren't bothered about it. They just not nothing. I was calling her a smackhead for the next 3 months until she got a letter saying the machine was faulty.
Who said romance is dead?
But yeah, well, sorry, going back to the white collar crime aspect of it is, the reason we was doing that is it was just after the financial crisis when mortgages were being done over the phone like that. And it's because the money involved in doing that compared to the time, there's two tariffs you work on in any crime. There's the money you can earn in the time you're doing prison for it if you get caught. And if you're not willing to do the second one, you're not going to get the money off the first one.
We call that cost benefit.
Yeah. And so that's what we called it. When we had the meetings, but I sat there and I thought, I can get it all. My role in it was get this guy's passport, tell him to come around here, sign for a mortgage, you can get 10 grand out of it or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was a no-brainer because if you get nicked, there's fuck all happening. Because it was fraud, and at the time no one cared about fraud. They're doing that, massive.
Yeah.
But the money involved in it in comparison to other things you'd have to do to earn that sort of money. Was it?
One of the drivers from the government is to potentially ban and limit digital currencies like Bitcoin and things like that, because there is a view that the majority of Bitcoin trading
or they centralise them to a government.
A government one, yeah. So basically they want us to know where all the money's going because it can help prevent crime and things like that. So the government solution to a lot of things around criminality seems to be control of everyone. So if you've never committed a crime, you're never going to commit a crime. Your freedoms are going to be reduced because they have no other way to identify and control criminals.
Well, that's the reason why they used to change banknotes every few years.
Yeah.
Is because if you've got 100 grand buried in your garden and that banknote can no longer be spent anymore, you've got to change it. So that's what they used to do. Now is making it more digital. So they're trying to make people used to spend years getting money out of banks. Now it's trying to get money into banks.
Well, if I go and withdraw 10 grand now, I will have to answer some questions and I'll be reported to the government.
Yeah. I think it's anything over 9,000. That's what it used to be. I don't know what it is now.
I think it is about 10 grand.
Yeah.
Even after inflation, it's still 10 grand.
Yeah.
So that number is actually shrinking.
I've never, this cost of living crisis, I've never looked at something in this shop. When I'm on about a big shop, on about a food shop, I've never looked at the price of anything in my life.
Yeah.
I look now. And I've always earned decent money. I've always done all right for myself. But now I look at stuff and think, how the fuck can they charge that for that? How are normal people, some normal people sat down and, doing this shit. I'm glad I raised my 3 kids and they're done. Because I think it looks an expensive job now.
Yeah. Well, people come from overseas, from Australia and America, and they can't believe how cheap it is.
Yeah, Australia's expensive.
So now
They'll relative.
come over and they'll rent an Airbnb in the Cotswolds or something, and then they'll be on TikTok. Look at how much I got for, $100 there. And it's like a whole thing of shopping, as it should be. But I think in the US, you can pay 20 quid for some pork chops and things like that,
But then you'll pay, $2 for a gallon of fuel?
Yeah, well,
there are things that are cheaper.
Depends where you go. I mean, I know in 2022, I was paying $5 a gallon in LA.
Yeah.
Still cheaper than
didn't like the tipping culture in America. Didn't like it at all.
Well, it's this dystopian thing of, in lieu of wages, the minimum wage in some states, I don't know if it's still the same, but when I was there, I'm sure it was $2.50. So if they didn't get a tip, they didn't get it.
I know, I get it with wages stuff, but we got an Uber to Venice Beach, and I think it was $80 from where we were staying.
Yeah.
And then my phone went dead, so we had to get a yellow cab back, and the yellow cab cost us $150. And I said to the guy, he says $160, like a $10 tip. He went mental at me. No, $30 tip. That's. He was telling me what the tip was, and I was like, nah, I ended up chucking the money at him. He's just,
yeah, it's a weird culture, and it is
creeping over to the UK as well. A lot of places in the UK now will just add it.
When I was selling cars, I've only ever had one tip in 30 years of doing it nearly. And the guy said, "There's 20 quid, you've really looked after me, lads." He brought the van back a couple of hours later. He said, "We've checked it online." He said, "There's something not right tallying up with the miles. We took in Partex that morning, we'd not done it with it." I said, "I'll give you your money back." When I forgot to give you the tip back. Says they can keep it.
I have one tip in my life. So an American guy came in and wanted an Irish coffee, and I didn't know how to make it, but I went and served it. I got it. I got some help with it, and we served it. And he gave me a £2 coin. It's the only tip I've ever had in my life. And the guy who was in charge saw it and snatched it out of my hand.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Not going to communal pot for everyone then, or?
no. He just kept it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was basically, you know, why should you get that? You know, we all work here, kind of thing. And I guess I don't expect, like, working in those kind of jobs, I don't think it's right to expect tips, but I think there's sometimes a little bit of hostility around it. So if you work in the kitchen,
You know, from that guy's point of view that was running the business, you know, if his business is not...
well, it was a Weatherspoon, so
yeah, he's a banging man.
well, yeah, his wife was cheating on the managers, so you know, it's just how his life was going in general, to be honest.
That £2 by me.
To be fair, yeah. I don't think it's healthy. I think people should be paid and taken care of. You know, if a burger needs to cost 15 quid for someone to pay properly, then that's what it needs to cost. But, you know,
But then that's where people should get paid proper. In Australia, I think when I was there, like $24 an hour minimum wage.
something less that in curves on.
I think at the time, probably 15, 16. I'm not 100%. I can't remember. Our brain, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was relative. When you go into a bar, it was $12 for a pint or a scooter for a half, which they called it.
Yeah.
But it was sort of relative to the wages. I was looking at it thinking Sydney is really expensive, but people are paid quite well there.
Well, looking on social media, it sounds a bit of a civil war brewing over tipping culture, and certainly on like platforms like Twitter, where people think it should exist, people think it shouldn't. But
It should be down to you.
well, that's the thing. I mean, I keep saying I've seen online. There was a coffee shop that put a bit of tape over the no tip option on the screen. So if you served your coffee over a counter, they turn the screen round and you've got to put an amount into tip.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit of tape over the no. So, you know, you can press custom amount and press 0, but it's just hostile. It just seems...
It creates hostility.
Yeah.
If you've done a good job, you should get tips. Personally, if you especially if you're in some sort. But when have you ever been in Next or Tesco and tipped someone? You don't do it if you work in a big chain, do you? Like say you work to the spoons. It's true. But somebody who works in Janice's Cafe and serving you coffee, she might get a bit. She's probably on a bit more than the people in Tesco.
All I quite like about tips is if it really makes a difference to someone's day. I was in Hong Kong last month, and there was this old lady. She was cleaning the toilets, so she looked really miserable. And, you know, people walking past, and she must have been 75 years old, you know. And I gave her one of the notes. I don't know what the conversion is, but I gave her something, and she seemed really happy with it. And I thought I could have done that in a restaurant in London, and they wouldn't have even registered it in their brain that I'd done it. So why am I doing it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, is it literally just because I am expected to pay that person's wages? Or, you know, and I think really if it's a special thing, it kind of incentivizes people. It makes people feel better about doing it. But I don't want to go to a place and see a steak cost 30 quid, and then actually after I get the bill, it's cost me £36. Some restaurants had VAT on top of that as well, so they were 40 odd quid.
I was in Dominican and we went on a horse thing, me and my wife, and they had the guides and the pulling you, and there's two local people. She kept saying to me, we're worth tips. I said, listen, don't worry. I'll see you right to the end of it. And I didn't know what to give them. I had a $50 note, so I gave her $50. She drops in front of the horse and started praying. I said, that's between the two of you, but they're both praying in front of the horse. Me and my wife got off the horse, has gone to the bar. I went, I got 2 pina coladas, went, fuck me, it's only $50 we brought out for the day. I was like, I can't ask the woman for $10, but I've had these little altruistic moments. I've had to go to a cash point and draw something on my heart. I really needed that. I'm a sucker for a fridge magnet when I'm abroad, and they only take cash, you know, so I always need. In Germany, we went there for the World Cup, not World Cup, Euros, and everywhere said no card, cash only. No card, cash only.
Yeah.
And most cities are the opposite now, where it's you know, card only, not cash.
If you get that in the UK, you just assume that the money laundering.
Yeah. That's all Niagara Farage says, isn't it? All the Turkish barbers are money laundering.
Yeah. That,
25 quid they tried charging me. I'm bold. £25, shave me head and do my beard.
did you get like any massages or anything like that?
The hot towel.
Towel.
Yeah, I'm not getting it anymore. And they charged the guy who went before me, who was my mate, 23 quid, he had a good head of it. I went, how the fuck someone who's got more hair than me, more expensive?
I've had to look at your head for the last 20 minutes. I want compensation. So we've not even started to touch on like the crime aspect of your life. Well, yeah, you start off basically around vehicle theft. Is that?
I didn't still do. I did when I was a bit younger, but
I think the broker, were you in the middle?
I'd get a nick car, break it for bits. Get a nick car, change the identity on
So
it.
where did the cash come from to start that?
To start that, it's easy. You used to be able to get a nick car for 200 quid.
Okay.
So basically, if you've gone out and got a car, you've nicked a Golf for a BMW, you might have gone out and done some robberies in it, and then he's parked up in a cul-de-sac in whatever area you live in. Does anyone want to buy this car, 200 quid, please, trying to end up recovering it. So I go, yeah, I'll get 200 quid for it.
How does that happen now? Like, is that WhatsApp groups or what?
What with? I don't know now because I'm not in it anymore.
Okay.
But the last time I probably was, normally WhatsApp or Telegram. Telegram was the one that was just as I was at the back end of stuff.
Yeah.
But we'd go and pick up a nick car, change the identity on it. You buy one that's got an engine fucked or something, or some people just sell you a logbook. So I've had this car, it's been off the road. Do you want to buy the logbook and the identity for it? So you'd buy it, you twin it up and you sell it. And 9 times out of 10, that person will never know. With newer cars now, it's harder because all the computerized stuff. But when we were doing it, it was a piece of piss.
Have you ever dealt with a stolen car and felt bad for the person who owned it? Like if there's a child seat in it or something like
that? No, nothing like that. No, you can't have a conscience if you're doing crime. You can't have a conscience on that stuff. Yeah, you can pick your victims. And that is something I've always been a big believer in. If you're going to steal from a shop, you don't steal from Mr. Patel who works on the corner. You steal from B&Q. I love a self-checkout, still do. That's the only thing I do.
Okay.
I'm not like, I'll never change. I do love a meal deal for free. But but you don't steal off little people. You don't steal off people that can't afford the losses. And anybody who says to me, oh, well, big companies are feeling it as well, good. They should pay the staff more. And they shouldn't charge what they do for stuff.
There's an argument that theft does end up hitting everybody through higher prices.
Probably.
Greggs has just had a profit warning. And they're notoriously getting robbed every single day. People are just walking into Greggs, grabbing everything they want and walking back out again. And it's just constant videos online. Of people.
I would look at why then people are needing to do that more than worrying about Greggs.
Yeah.
Everyone's worried about what little people are doing in the world. No one looks at why the billionaires aren't fucking paying their way. But it's, that could be a long story.
Yeah, I think that's been a problem for a long time. And the government, I mean, Keir Starmer, I think, has socialist background, and he definitely wants to take rich people to task, but they can basically...
This country doesn't like successful people. I've noticed that over the years. If you're doing well for yourself, people always say, my next door neighbours where we live now, they told someone we were drug dealers who she worked with, because we live next door to drug dealers because we had a Range Rover on a drive and they've got swimming pool in the back on, stuff like that. And it come back because the person she said it to was at the time my son's girlfriend's mum, who they're working with.
Yeah.
So I said to her, I guess, just to let you know, I'm not a drug dealer, by the way. She went, oh, what do you mean? I guess, well, listen, I don't sell drugs. I guess I never have sold drugs. I said, but I've been tarred with it my whole life. I said, it's never bothered me. I said, but that's not what I do. Then a week later, I got stabbed on the drive. So she lied to me. I think you might be full of shit.
Yeah. I needed to speak to a neighbour on the street behind my street. And I met this lady. She was quite nice and pleasant. And I mentioned, I've just met so-and-so to a neighbour. And my neighbour near my house said, well, she came round to our house because of a parcel. And she pointed at your house and said, that's a HMO.
Yeah?
Yeah, so she just had it convinced in her mind that 10 illegal immigrants lived in my house.
I sold herself that story then.
God knows. I mean, I think it's probably bigger than her house and didn't like that. So, yeah, people will do that.
Well, there's a university study where people say, would you rather win £500,000 knowing that your next door neighbours have won £100,000, or would you rather win £200,000 knowing that your next door neighbours have only won £50,000 each? So you win less, but they win less than you. And it's just, most people would go for the, I want more of my neighbours.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think the whole Western economy might be driven by just wanting to outdo each other.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses. Well, it's middle class. That's the middle class trap. But going back to the stolen car thing, I've ever felt bad about one. I sold a Ringer to a guy in 2006.
What's a Ringer?
A Ringer is a car that's been cloned, basically. A stolen car with another identity on it.
Does it have a physical VIN on it and there's somebody else's VIN? Is that?
Yeah, How you used to do it was you'd get a nicked car, you'd go on Auto Trader, you'd find one in a dealership, get the details off that. Loads of places you can go and buy chassis numbers from. It's meant to be regulated, it's not. You get little plates, little stickers. You do that. And I sold this one to this guy, and he rang me up. He says, he was a bit like, all right, I'm not. He said, I used to be a bit of a lad. He says, and I'm not anymore. He said, but you're going to send me back to my old ways if you don't give me money back. When, mate, you're not getting your money back. Simple as that.
How much was it?
About £8,000.
£8,000.
I felt a bit bad buying, but anyway, I was in Gran Canaria 3 years later in an Irish bar, and this is how small the world is. He went, can you remember me? I looked at him, I went, oh, fuck's sake, it's my family holiday. He went, I'm not worried because I broke the car, I got my money back. Because I sold the engine. He brought me a pint. Yeah. And I sat and had a chat with him about it. I was like, I don't know what you want me to say to you, mate, because I'm not bothered. Because same as you, I'm on a family holiday. But there's been occasions as I've got older where I've sat back and realised, you know what, there are people behind these things. I can't just say it's the insurance companies losing out or is this. There are people behind stuff that you think it affects their lives.
Yeah. Can we talk about you getting stabbed?
Yeah, I've been stabbed twice. First time was with a screwdriver.
And what was happening?
That was a bar fight.
When was not a screwdriver on him?
Yeah, but the strangest thing was, and I'll forget this, I pulled it out and it was a flathead. I thought, who uses flathead screwdrivers anymore? But that was in my side. That was 20 years ago. But that escalated. The guy found out where I live, wanted to come and do something to me and this, that and the other. Then it all got put to bed in the end. But that was just over him being a dickhead. I walked in the pub to meet someone who was a dickhead, a local dickhead. He's only himself now as well. And I think at the funeral, there's only him and the vicar. That's how unpopular it was. Second time I got stabbed was 2 years ago. That was in my leg. And my son lent someone some money. And he's been banged on his door. I want my money back. This lad didn't like my son banging on his door. So he's come to my house with him and two of his mates huddled up. Bang, bang, bang on my door. I've opened the door. I knew something weren't right. They've got their hands in the pockets, roods up. So I've walked out to get them away from the front door. What do you want, lads? Your son in? Yeah, I'm going near my son. He's not in, but you're not going near him. He goes, well, I'm not paying that money out of him. I goes, all right. And then I just seen the knife there and I punched him and took his front teeth out. There was two other lads there. To be fair, all three of them were drips. They were 6 stone wet through and they couldn't find their way out of the bag. Bursey's gone over, he stabbed me in the leg there, in the back there. And he went up there and it was 2 millimeters away from the artery. So I could have bled out on my drive. And my son said to me, I can't believe they've done that, Dad. The little dibs, the idiots. So he goes, who do you think stabs people? 20 stone lads at night to fight. I goes, it is little kids and divs that stab people. And that could have killed me over you lending your mate 500 quid. And I tried explaining to him, it's if you lend someone money, in my world, you've got to be bad enough to collect that money. They've got to know they're paying you back. And you have to do that by having a certain persona, being a certain way. And I said to my son, I don't want you doing what I've done in the past. I want you staying away from that world.
So he's on course to become a loan shark.
Well, no, basically he does his mate a favour. He's a university, my son, but he didn't see, it was the naivety behind it. He didn't see that lad might go, well, if I don't pay him back, what can he do? And I said to my lads, you then got to be willing to do something to get your money back.
And so your lad's never been drawn to this life?
No, he's my biggest regret as a parent, and I'll say this to anybody who was in the life that I was in, is normalising criminality, normalising drug use. That's my biggest regret as a parent, because I've not hid my world from my children. They've met the people I know. They've been involved with the house when police, like I've told you, when police have been to my garage. They've seen it growing up. And one way, they're probably quite savvy to the world. They realise it's not all rainbows and, but on the other hand, I wish I'd more normalised it to them as well.
When they stabbed you the second time, was it just one go?
Yeah, one go, big kitchen knife though, big kitchen. When you get stabbed, you don't notice it straight away. It's out, your adrenaline's going. And this is how much of a consummate professional I am when it comes to selling vehicles. A guy pulled up to buy a car as I pulled the knife out and I'm chasing the lad up the road. I went, my son was with me with the keys in 1 minute, and then I carried on chasing the lad and he still brought the car off my son. I got took to hospital and he still brought the car off my son.
So my question is, I don't think you called it in, did you? Did you report it?
The police come to the police station, to the hospital. If you get shot or stabbed,
But you didn't report it?
No, I didn't report it. No, the police have to come to the hospital. And they come, I said, listen, I'm not giving a statement. And one of the nurses went, oh, we've got mafia in, not giving statements. I goes, it's not, I just can't give a statement.
Yeah.
And that's the next day, 2 police in uniforms have turned up at the house, we give a statement. No. 2 hours later, 2 CIDs turned up. I said, I've told you I'm not giving a statement. We're not here for that. We're here because you got to sign this paperwork to say, we know, we're seen on social media some of your friends have put on there, they're looking for retribution or whatever you want to call it. You've got to sign this paperwork that we know these lads are fear and fair. Like, they handed themselves into the police. They've basically gone to the police station. One of the parents has took them and said, we've stabbed someone, we think we've made a mistake. And then so at the end of the game, and the cop, I said to the copper in the end, I sat down, I goes, won't give you a statement. I said, I'll leave you to do your job though. I just tell you what, I goes, I won't do anything. I said, I'll sit on my hands, because I was trying to change my life at that point anyway, and you can just keep going with things. And I said to the cop, I'll leave you to do your job. I said, but I can tell you how it's going to go now already. If you get into court, which is a long shot, I said, his young lad, I goes, he'll just get probation and some community service. And he got sentenced 2 months ago, and he got a suspended sentence.
Without your cooperation?
Without my cooperation. I didn't have to give a statement. He gave a statement himself. So he went guilty on it. But he got done for GBH without intent and carried a bladed article. And this is at the time when everything's in the news about knife crime. I'm glad he didn't go to prison, because the old me wanted him to go to prison so I could ring someone up in prison and go, give him what I did. And I really hope that lad now is on a path where he's changed, because I could have quite easily lost my shit and gone and done something stupid to him. But then where does it stop? Does his dad do something to my son? Does something, it snowballs. And this is where I've probably had people in my world go, fucking hell, he's lost the plot. He's not done out to that lad anymore. He's lost his bottle. It's not about that. I've had enough. I've drew the line that I'm not interested in that world anymore. I'm not interested if I walk in a pub and someone saying, oh, he's a bad lad, or he knows so-and-so. I don't care about that. I don't care what someone thinks when I walk in the pub. I want to go in somewhere and go, Joe, he's a laugh to sit with. You can have a good day out with him. He's got a nice family. That's the stuff that interests me in that. And all this knife crime stuff, this is another reason I'm not massive into telly. It's all glorified. You watch all your gangster programs, your Gangs of London and all that, and it glorifies crime, and it's nothing like it. If you're sat around with 10 criminals in a pub, 9 out of 10 of them, they'll steal the sugar out your tea while you're not looking. But they talk about an honour amongst thieves. I've got friends that I'd still deal with now and talk to from that world that are loyal, good friends. But there's more arseholes in it than anything else. They'll just, they'll strike me if they can. They'll take off you whatever they can. And that's why I'm not interested in that world. And anybody wanting to go into it, I just say, give your head a wobble. Be an entrepreneur. Not saying go and work for someone else. Start your own thing, but be right, do it properly.
Sounds to me like the relationships that you value the most exist outside of any kind of criminal activity.
When I got, I know you wanted to go into it later, but when I nearly died, I found out who was there. You find out, there's a couple of times in your life you find out who was there, and this was one of them. And it wasn't all the people I've stood in kitchen parties with till 6 a.m. taking drugs, or calling me bro, telling me they love me. They weren't on the end of the phone to my wife saying, do you need anything?
From my perspective, by the way, you nearly died when you got stabbed in the leg.
It was close. I laughed it off initially. And then
you might have been closer then than, because getting into it later, you knew there was a problem for quite a while before you went to hospital. So getting stabbed an inch away from the main artery.
Yes, close.
Yeah. What year was that, by the way?
January 18, 2024. So a year and a half ago. My life's changed massively in a year.
You nearly died twice in 1 year.
Yeah, I draped, I had one under a car as well. I was in the 4x4 and the diff locked up on it, and an HGV went past me as I had the window down and took the mirror off on the dual carriageway and nearly ran me off, and then the car set on fire while I was in it.
Wow.
I had a lot of shit over a year and a half, to be honest with you.
You got stabbed by this kid. I'd view it as attempted murder. The call doesn't view it like my Chronicle Walk, GBH. And
Total the course, dude. And I learned this from when I was at court of law. Bill Piss in the same pot barristers. And I've sat in the back of a court when it's sort of adjourned, and they'd go, you have the next one, I'll have the next one. And they have deals where we're inconsequential as a defendant, we're inconsequential. They will, and also, to be fair to a certain point, the victims as well. Because the course of that backlogged up, they just want to get it done and through. That's why they'll say to you, if you go guilty, we're a trial, you might get 10 years for this. If you go not guilty and don't have a trial, you'll get 4. Off 4 years, you'll do 2. You won't do 2 anymore, you'll be on license after a year. So what looks good in the paper, this man got sentenced to 6 years, you probably do a year and a half.
Well, that's what happened in the Rotherham riots. So I believe, I get the impression that lawyers were saying, well, traditionally, if you plead guilty, you're going to get a better sentence. And at the time, there was a reaction from the government that everyone's getting.
That was political pressure.
Yes, but the lawyers had completely failed to understand, as far as I can tell, that there was vengeance coming, and that may have been bad advice, because they they just basically gone into autopilot, doing what they always do. Yeah, just plead guilty, better for you, better.
I've never listened to a barrister.
Yeah.
Never listened to a barrister because they said to my wife when she got arrested with me, they sat down, I said to my barristers, told the prosecution I'll go guilty on everything they've charged me with if they let her go. And my barrister come back out, he said, no, they want all of you. They're not taking any deals at the minute. And then they took my wife and she said to my wife, don't worry, you're only looking at 4 to 6 years. She walked out in the middle of Crank Court and slammed her around the face in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And I was like, I goes, listen, I know how this works. I goes, you're not going to do anything. And I goes, and I'll get done for it in the end. And in the end, the whole thing got chucked out because it was too big.
Yeah. So the guy who stabbed you got GBH. Was it GBH?
GBH without intent.
Without intent?
Yes, which basically means he turned up without the intention of doing it. But
he brought a knife.
And then he got done for carrying a bladed article in public. Knife crime at the minute is ridiculous. It's stupid. But he's never been done for anything else. And I couldn't understand the Crown Court judge sat there going, but this is my argument. They listen to the bullshit too much. He might have got a reference off of one of his mates that owns a business says, say I'm working for you. I've done it a million times in pre-sentence reports. Say I'm working for you. Say my kids are reliant on me. Say my mum's carer. All that shit they play into effect. That is concentrating on the defendant. They should concentrate on the victim in court. What did he do to the victim's life? That's how they should, not with me, I won't bother about it, but that's how they should do it, you know, when it comes to sentencing people.
You got stabbed in the leg by someone who, in my view, brought a knife to your house and committed attempted murder, in my opinion.
I'm glad he stabbed me because it's not, it would have been something, but sorry.
Right, exactly my point. Now, you weren't going to report it, you weren't going to cooperate, and generally, in my opinion, in my view, is that people start small and escalate. So this kid, starting small, was to stab a grown man near his artery.
Yeah.
And the grown man who was stabbed wasn't cooperating. And he got a light sentence, but it could have been lighter. Now, I believe you, you know, he's probably going to turn his life around.
I hope it does.
But if nothing had happened, fuck, that was easy. I just stabbed the guy and I'm free. You know, does it then make it easier for him to stab another innocent?
There was nothing happening until the police got involved. That's the thing here. They've been going another way. This is where I had to sit down and have a good look at myself and say, what do you do it?
So you were going to be there.
10 years ago, something would have happened to him.
So almost the police in that situation saved him.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad he didn't go to prison in the end. Because the LB wanted all sorts to happen to him. You know what I mean? It's easy enough done.
Is part of your motivation in that retribution personal and also to make sure he doesn't do it to somebody else in a weird way? Are you maybe protecting somebody else by having him?
My whole train of thought there was, what if this little... And I know that after what happened, there'd be like 2 shaking dogs pissing. But I've always had in the back of my head, what if to come back for my boy? And that's the only thing.
Or somebody else's boy.
Yeah. It's easy to be selfish in this scenario. I didn't think about somebody else's boy, to tell you the truth. I thought about mine.
Yeah.
Which you're probably right, I should have.
It's going to escalate.
Yeah, of course it. Yeah, of course it is, yeah. But that's the only thing I'd do something for now. I'm not interested in a reputation or a name or anything like that because it was never what I used to do, anything I'd done for. Like I said, I've never proclaimed to be a gangster or a tough guy. I can hold my own. But family's family, and if there's anything happens to that, then I'd quite happily do 20 years for my family.
We're at the point basically where you've kind of funded yourself to start acquiring cars and doing what you need to do to make a profit out of them. I assume you diversified beyond that. It wasn't just vehicles.
Yeah, I went into, the first call I had was up, tits up, lost the money I put into it, learning curve. Very quickly, I'd opened the second one up and went into it with a couple of other guys who were a bit older than me, a bit naughtier than me. And I was sort of clocking what they were doing alongside the garage to make money. Which is when I started hopping on a few bits they were doing as well. So what I found is then that you haven't got the pressure of, I've got to sell 3 cars this week because the bills have got to be paid. So you could hang out on your prices a little bit more. But I also realised as well is you don't get any thanks from this world for doing stuff properly. And what I mean by that is if I ran businesses, I've paid more in tax and VAT than most people I know, even though I've done naughty shit. And you do your tax, you do your VAT, you do your corporation tax, you do pension contributions, you do your PAYE, national insurance. There ain't much left for you at the end of it if you're doing it properly.
I can relate.
And I realised quickly that I don't want to be one of them slaves to the government. So I'd done it my own way. And if I could fiddle it, I fiddled it. And But yeah, it's like with customers. If I sold you a car for $3,000 and someone says, I'll give you $2.5 for it, I'll go, yeah, go on then. They're still going to come back and moan, even if you're knocking 500 quid off. If something goes wrong, you can't discount people's rights.
Yeah.
So I was learning very quickly that I've got to be a bit more switched on. So some of the shit we pulled down at that car, like we sold a car to a woman once, a Polish lady. And 2 days later, she come back, I shaved my head and made out of somebody else in the office and put an accent on and said we just took the garage over and she swallowed it.
Wait, so you saw her come in, you shaved your head quickly.
I'd shaved my head that day. No, she was coming. I shaved my head, but when she come in, I put an accent on. I said, when they've left the garage, they've gone. Scottish accent on.
Yeah.
And she swallowed it and she said, we could get rid of the car for me. So she left it with us. We had, just to tell you where we were at with this car lot, there was some trouble happened in one part of Nottingham. We had a phone call. So me and two of the lads that I was with, we jumped in, grabbed a couple of tools, gone in the car, gone to this thing that could have escalated, but didn't look like. Got back to the car lot. The police are waiting for us. So we got out of the car and the police said, round reports of 3 bodybuilders running out, tooled up. And my mates looked at each other, burst out laughing and pointed at me, went, we train every day. He's not a fucking bodybuilder. But my question was, how did the police get here so quick? I did the thing here. So we checked the cameras when we got back and it was opposite Severn Trent Water in Nottingham. And the coppers walked out Severn Trent Water gates as we pulled off. So we found out then we was under observation. And that's when a week later, both car lots got raided when they had the helicopters and everything there. So they had to bring it all forward because we'd sort of rumbled them on that a little bit. But yeah, so I was just up to anything and everything. Like that's when we was doing the mortgage fraud. That's when we was ringing cars. Anything you could.
You ever get involved with guns?
We had one lad come in and part exchange 2 8mm guns against a car. He said, you lads are up for a deal, aren't you? And he put them on the table. And I can remember one of the valeters we had at the time, he always used to talk about all his old stories. And I said, do us a favour, valet it, and took one to him. And he went, I don't get paid enough for this. But that's never been my thing, to be honest with you.
What did you do with them?
One of them ended up in a lake and the other one went somewhere. So, but no, it's never been my thing, Liam. It's, I've probably lost more than I've won, but I'd rather use them. Too permanent for me, that. And I think guns run alongside drugs. And I've never been involved in drugs. I've always stayed away from that.
Consumer.
Yeah, got to consume plenty over the years, but.
So normally that starts with weed.
You smoke weed when I was younger, Thai weed, none of this weird shit they have now though.
None of these combined hybrid strains.
Well, people go, it's natural, it's not, it's grown in a loft, I've grown tons of it. It's not, it's nice and guys. Yeah.
Was there just a day when somebody offered you some and you started on coke?
Coke, I can't remember, I was buffing a car when I had a garage and someone got a bag out, I went, I never had that, I'll try it. So I had a bit and I was chatting shit for hours going, I don't think it does anything to you. But then, like I say, I used to be a bad drunk when I was younger and someone started bringing it out and I had a bit. And then where I used to knock about and the lads I used to drink with, it was on tap because they all sold it for a living. So it wasn't like I was paying for it. It wasn't like I was taking away.
How much were you going through the worst of it?
When I started taking coke, it was coke. It was proper oily, flaky. You don't get coke anymore. Coke, I think someone got caught in the area I lived in quite recently and it come back at 6%. Oh. And then they wonder why the lads that are making so much money are doing it. Good luck to them. But yeah, we used to take proper coke. So if you could do more of a gram on a night of proper gear, it's not gear. So we just have little lines of it. But then your tolerance goes up as you go along. Yeah. But I used to go to the pub and then I'd be home for 12, 1 in the morning. Then all of a sudden it turned into kitchen parties, which is where you go back from the pub. And you'll end up with 6 random dickheads you would never spend your time with in a million years. Telling them about your first fight at school, business ideas. And it's just, I can remember when I decided to stop taking drugs, I sat in this kitchen, I just looked up at 6 in the morning and went, what the fuck am I doing in here? Why am I wasting my life with these wasted skins who I didn't really know? I just got up and walked out.
Did you find yourself missing it? Like when you stopped or when you didn't take some?
Fear of missing out, not missing it.
So you don't feel like you were hooked?
No, I don't. I probably was. I didn't think it was like I was. For me, it was a social thing. If you have a joint or a line of coke or a bottle of vodka on a Tuesday morning, you've got a problem. If you do it on a Friday night, it's recreational. My problem was it started on a Friday night and it'd probably finish on a Sunday afternoon, so it'd go through the weekend. Then you're doing your 2 days of in bed, being depressed, feeling sorry for yourself. Coke's a drug that it's not a fun drug. It's not a drug that makes people funny either.
Yeah.
You'd sit around, it's first 3 in a pub now, you're having a laugh and a joke, and then go, right, shall we get 3 for 1? get them dropped off. Next thing, everyone's fucking sat there clammed up quiet because you've had a bit of gear. It's the worst drug in the world, and it's the only drug in the world I know where people walk around offering it out for free. I've got a bag, do you want some? You don't do that when you're blind, do you? So it's just because you want other people to get involved with what you're doing.
Maybe it triggers something in your brain to do that, you know.
You just want to be sociable.
I've been offered it so many times, I've never tried it.
But the thing is, what it done for me is initially, it was not a confidence boost, so I'm quite confident, but it stopped me being a dickhead when I was drinking. It longed me out of alcohol so I could drink a bit more and I wouldn't be a dickhead. And I've always been up for a laugh for it. RSC, it turned other people into Johnny Rockard and things like that. I don't understand it. But I went from doing it recreationally to all of a sudden I find myself, I'm in my ass on a Wednesday night with some in the cupboard. Well, I'll kick that in. But whenever I used to go to someone's house and they go, oh, well, there's Coke in the cupboard, do you want a bit? I go, who the fuck has Coke left over? Who goes to bed for it? It's all gone.
Yeah.
And I had this thing where I was in a self-destruct where I would, whatever was there would get consumed.
And this is while you were a dad as well.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I've as I look back now, I think I'm very lucky to be alive by some of the stupid shit I've done.
You're also lucky that your family are talking to.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I never hid it from my wife. I normalised it around my kids.
Like justifications.
Oh yeah, well, everyone does it.
Yeah.
My circle, everyone does it. It's normal to you. But when you take yourself away from it, you realise, fucking, do you know what? It's not normal. It's not a normal scenario to be in. And some of the positions I put myself in where you look back and think, how or why did I do that?
There's a lot of criticism around the war on drugs in that it's not a priority compared to other things.
Should be.
Yeah.
Legalise it. Legalise most things because then it's decriminalised. If you can buy weed from a dispensary, then it's not being grown in someone's loft 3 doors down who's got to wire their electric to do it. You're always going to get black market of anything. But if you legalise something, you take the criminal element out of it. The money involved in coke, I see why people do it. 100%, of course you can. If you can turn 2 key into 3, good luck to it. Again, I've never done it. It's not my thing because I've never wanted to do the gel.
What do they cut it with? Is it cleaning chemicals? What is it?
You can cut it with all sorts. Again, it's not my thing, but I know a lot of it is lidocaine, benzocaine. What's the latest one they've been doing it with? It's I can't remember the name of it, but a lot of it's numbing agents and stuff like that.
They're not printing it on the back of the bag like a pack of crisps.
No, definitely does not have a content in it. But I will say this, most people now that sniff coke aren't sniffing coke.
No.
And that's one of the reasons why. I used to do a little bit of boxing, so I used to not drink or do anything for 2-3 months at a time. So I always thought I was in control of everything. And if you offer me a line of coke on a Tuesday afternoon, I'd look at you going, what do I want that for? When I finished work and had 2 pints, I'd tear your arm off for that coke. And then I'd get a load dropped off and I'd sit there doing it till 6 in the morning. I'd smoke 40 fags, drink a bottle of vodka and 20 pints.
When's the last time you did coke?
Tyson Fury fight versus Usyk, December the 23rd, 2024. That's the last time I had a drink as well. I don't do anything anymore. Yeah, Tito, 7 months.
That was almost spoken like an AA.
It was. You know what? Yeah. I've had to convince myself that that's how I've got to treat it because alcohol's a trigger.
Yeah.
I've never been an alcoholic. I've never had a problem with drink, but the minute I start drinking, I want to have a line of coke. And then the minute I have a line of coke, I'll smoke 40 fags.
Yeah.
And then I will sit, you think I can talk? Nah, fuck me. You sit until 6 in the morning with a bag of coke. Do you know when you see these men's meetings and they go, people need to talk, chuck a bag of coke in the middle of them.
And these men
talk.
And these men come on coke.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. I just know that there's strong opinions on both sides. I mean, I hate walking down the street and smelling weed. I think it's a symptom of a broken society when you just, not little kids breathing in marijuana smoke in the street, you know, that's not right.
Everyone's got a vice.
I get it, but I just think that there's a lot of people who don't care about being responsible and
well, of course,
it's almost like abuse of kids if they can't go out in public without breathing, you know, weed. So I feel like
they'd rather vape.
Yeah, well, we're going off with that as well, aren't we? But a lot of people are using THC vapes.
But again, it's off the street, so it's another thing that they're making in a basement somewhere. That they're pure battery in it with chemicals in it.
Yeah,
I kind of get the arguments from both sides. I don't want to be surrounded by people stoned off the face all the time, but at the same time, there's a lot of tax revenue. Do you know what? I've never ever had a fight or had any trouble with someone who smokes weed all the time, though. You go and sit in a Witherspoons with someone who's had 4 pints of Stella.
Is that like saying I've never had a fight with anyone that's disabled, though?
Do you know what I mean? I've had fights with someone disabled.
All right. Bad example.
Before he was disabled before. Somehow.
Yeah, okay. All right. So,
But what I'm saying to you is weed, people go to gateway drug, it's this. I understand that. That depends on someone's personality. That's like saying if you have a bottle of hooch, next thing you know, you're going to be on 10 in the super. It depends on your personality and how you look at things and how you, you know, if you're addicted personality or not. I'm lucky that I thought I've never had an addicted personality. My problem is I binge.
yeah.
I would binge when I'm doing something. I used to push myself to limits. Like one of the most recent sessions I had before I packed up doing everything, I had a load of coke, some pills, some mushrooms, and we were throwing little hand grenades around my garden thinking it was in Vietnam. It was a laugh at the time. I look back now, I think, fucking, that was pushing it a little bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But you've never really done that much around pills and
When I was a bit younger, I used to do a bit of pills. Again, pills are the ones that they'd make you up people and dance and you'd love everyone.
MDMA and
You'd love everyone.
what about psychedelics?
Mushrooms.
Yeah.
Mushrooms, yeah.
Okay. So there's a joke about mushrooms. You go out with somebody picking mushrooms and, you know, you can have this one with a steak and, you know, this one's poisonous, so don't eat that. And this one will make you see God for 6 hours. You know, so what were those experiences like for you on mushrooms?
I'd done them alongside other things. So I think the experiences sometimes were a little bit intertwined with other drugs.
Yeah.
But I found them mellow. I found them horrible to eat as well.
But the actual experience.
But the actual experience, I've never had a bad one. But same with pills, I never had a bad pill either, to be honest with you. I'd say the best trip I've had, and I know we're going to go into it a bit, was when I was in hospital and they was trying to get my medication right. And I was very, very anxious about being in hospital and what I was there for. And then I can remember laying in the bed and all the beds on the ward pulled together. And there was an old West Indian guy on the right who had not said a word. And then he started talking to me in this dreamy, trippy thing I had. And then I was seeing all sorts of shit, mountains and everything. And all the beds just pulled apart and I woke up. And all my anxiety had gone from being in hospital. And I was just that chilled out. I thought, I've got to be here to let it roll its course.
This is another thing about legalization. So can you imagine government approved pharmaceutical grade Coke?
Oh, they'd fuck it up. Would you reckon? They'd fuck it up 100%. They'd to do a low fat version or something.
Have you seen?
Low fat Coke, no fat Diet Coke.
Oh,
yeah, they
God.
fucked up.
I'm going to get censored by YouTube now. So I said low fat Coke. So yeah, I've seen him making it. I think Gordon Ramsay did a documentary about it and he was like following people around making it and he's like, it's a fucking Coke.
No, and he's in his restaurant.
Yeah, and he went abroad. He was like, right, someone's done Coke in my toilets. I'm off to Brazil.
I had a
Perfectly normal reaction.
I was on a trial years ago. I can't remember what it was for, and this is 15, 16 years ago.
Illegal trial.
Illegal trial, at the Crown Court in Nottingham. And my barrister said to me, I'm staying over in Nottingham for the weekend at the park. We've got a party. Is there any chance you get us any party favours? And I said, what the fuck's party favour? And then I switched my brain. I'm like, yeah, of course, can, no problem.
Yeah.
So I asked someone, I gave them a number, they dropped some gear down. And on the Monday morning, the trials continued. I got into court on the Monday morning and I got good weekend, totally blank me. Totally just would not talk to me about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I just thought the double standards here are so fucking untrue.
Yeah. I mean, you touched on something earlier that whatever's happening in criminality on the street or the front line, it affects people, but there's wholesale theft, wholesale corruption, you know, people being displaced from entire communities for corporate profit.
Government's the biggest gangsters going. They just got there first. I know that's an easy thing to say, but when you listen to all the stuff about the pandemic and all the things that got awarded to different companies, I sit there looking at it going, I'd have done that. If I was in that position, I'd have given my mate a £30 million contract to provide PPE.
And there were companies being formed and getting huge government contracts and then being closed.
Yeah.
And never producing.
There was a Scottish lady that used to do the Wonder Bra thing, Baroness, someone, she'd been out-hearted on it, hadn't she? But she lobbied for a certain company to get £300 million worth of PPE, and it was something to do with her and her husband, who were already billionaires.
Well, I know Nicola Sturgeon was the Holier Than Thou candidate.
Oh, was prankster.
Yeah. And she got a free Winnebago or something like that from somewhere. And
Do you know when you look at a politician who's on, what are they on, 100 grand a year?
decent work. It's all right.
It's a public servant wage.
£3 for a meal in the Commons as well.
But, so how the fuck are most of them millionaires?
Well, this is a Nancy Pelosi question. This is a question that quite a few people ask. You've been on 100 grand a year for 23 years.
Yeah, why are we have 250 million?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. And there is only one answer.
Generational wealth or crookedness.
The question gets asked and nobody answers. And it's interesting that Joe Biden
signed so many pardons before he left office, because in the run-up in public discourse, Donald Trump was the evil guy, and Joe Biden was the good guy. And just before exiting, he pardoned a small army of people going back as far as the eye can see, you know.
But that didn't make the paper though, did it?
Well, no, and this is the thing with Twitter. You know, Twitter can be a bit of the cesspool, but it's really the only place that these things are being discussed. The only people asking why Nancy Pelosi is worth so much money, they're asking it on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, BBC News doesn't seem to publish that.
Yeah, I can't watch BBC.
Well, yeah, I think government. It's the same with like Russia Today. RT News got banned in the UK.
Yes.
It was like I liked it. They had quite a nice little studio. It was, you know, it was an interesting, different perspective. But the government said, look, this is foreign propaganda. We're banning it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it stopped working. I didn't believe what they were saying, but it was interesting to hear what people say. Well, and then I look at BBC News and I think, it's the exact same. It's not worse. It's not better.
It's spread, it's censored, and it's one side.
Yeah, they're talking.
Do you pay your TV license?
I don't watch any live TV.
Yeah, so I refuse to now as well, because I won't fund anything that's OT. He said, the BBC were the biggest bunch of nonsense going. It's my mum said to me, I said, I guess everyone who worked at the BBC was nonsense in the 80s, so I know it's different then. Touching a kid, mum. I guess I don't think it's any difference in any time. But they, like the Hugh Edwards thing, that should have been massive. That man should have got 10 years. He walked out of court. You know, pictures of kids on your computer and walk out of court. That's fucked up.
So the Epstein files don't exist. We just found out from the government. So there's been talk of the Epstein files. People say, I've got the Epstein files on my desk. I've got the client list. And now we've got to the point where the client list doesn't exist.
Do you think Prince Andrew is a nonce?
He should be held accountable just like everybody else in the Epstein list. But when you say nonce, I think about someone with like kids.
Yeah, that's right. He shagged underage girls that are under 18, between 16 and 18 probably.
Probably, yeah. I don't know. I don't think that's what a nonce is. It's not right.
Well, that's why they say about Philip Schofield, and he's not a nonce.
Because what you do is you group people together there who probably shouldn't be grouped together. They're different kind of offenders. One's a rapist because he's basically leveraged his authority against somebody who can't consent because there's a power dynamic. They're very young, and you know they're over the legal age in the UK. Yeah. But if that happened in New York, then yes, he's a child molester because the law in New York, I believe, is 18.
Well, that lad who's just a young lad who got locked up in Dubai. He was 18, his girlfriend 16. He's just been released under a Dubai charity. He's got him out there, locked up abroad. But he was 18 years old, she's 16. They've locked him up over there.
Yeah.
Because they're saying they shouldn't be doing it.
So the answer to that question depends on which country you're in.
Yeah.
I think that the suggestion that that basically a lot of girls are being bought and sold at a very young age, and that's a different crime.
When we're on about end users of crime, and earlier on, if you said to me, do I feel bad about any sort of crime if you say baby seen a stolen car or something? If the nonsense that are looking at pictures of kids on the internet get 10, 15 years, people will stop looking at pictures of kids on the internet. When they're walking out of court, I said, don't do that again. They're going to fucking look at what I want, they've gone.
Yeah. I think that there's an economy in third world countries. I think around, you know, and Eastern Europe, and it's a difficult one because there's so much emotion and anger, and also there's something happened where LGB became TIAQ++.
Yeah, they're all 5 different lawfulness of people.
Yeah, and then that became there's people starting to try and normalise MAP, minor attractive people, and they're trying to bundle it in the flag. So you know, if you're a person born in the wrong body, now suddenly you're sharing a flag with somebody who touches kids.
Yeah,
and
wrong.
It is wrong.
Yeah, of course it is.
And you know, and it's so.
But LGBTQ, for the whole thing's not related with each other. It's they're all their own different little things in my eyes, and it really is. It's, you see, gender's like the Twin Towers, isn't it? There used to be 2 of them, now it's a touchy subject. And
yeah. I think that everybody on that list is culpable and needs to be prosecuted. But unfortunately, some of the people on that list are powerful at the top level, and that's why it's kind of going away.
It's one of them. It's if you're on that list and you're running the government, you say, you're on this list, mate, I can get you locked up. Remember what I know about you, though.
That's it.
That's all it is. It's pissing. Same as the barristers.
Do you know what the president said about Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
I wish her well.
Yeah.
After she'd been arrested. Well, I wish her well. That's almost like code.
Of course it is, yeah.
I do think Trump generally
He's
is,
doing what he said he was going to do in America, which is what they voted for him for.
on a global level, he's
Bad for the world, he's good for America, probably.
well, on a global level, yeah. I mean, he's definitely disrupting everything, but he's definitely doing what he said he would do, but he's really split the country down the middle.
I don't think it's already split. I think
It was getting that way, but there wasn't this really powerful catalyst on the right saying, you know,
in America, people focus too much on race. It's about black, white, Mexicans, rich and poor.
yeah.
That's what it's about in America.
Well, I think that people need to get a billionaire mindset around race really quickly, because if you're a billionaire, whatever your skin tone is, and you meet another billionaire, whatever her skin tone is, you're a couple of billionaires, you got all that in common. Now, if a fair-skinned billionaire looks at me and he looks at the other billionaire and you ask him who he's got more in common with, he's not going to say me, is he? And people become, because they're pitted against each other, they don't see it like that.
Because people always want to blame something.
Well, there's a meme online, you know, where there's a foreigner with one cookie and a working man with one cookie.
Yeah.
And the guy with big pile of cookies says, careful, mate, he wants your cookie.
Yeah.
You know, and
I want both cookies.
yeah. So that it's almost like, you know, pitting people against each other, and this aspiration that potentially led you into a criminal lifestyle is what's kind of thrown on people from birth. And now we have people on their 18th birthday joining OnlyFans because they see Bonnie Blue with a Lamborghini.
Oh, she's from Nottingham, I think.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, just got to ask these days, you know what I mean? If it,
You know what? I see people. I went on a stag do last month, and I don't drink, so I'm at the airport teetotal, but I make my own entertainment. And there's another stag do sat with us, and they dressed the guy up like an hero hostess. And I had to say to him, I goes, "Is it a stag do?" I goes, "Or are you trying?" I goes, "Because you have to ask it this that." 10 years ago, I'd have been sure it was a stag do.
Yeah.
He goes, "No, they've dressed me up, mate."
God.
And the base of that question was, most crimes or any crime I've ever done is for finance. It's for finance. It's not anybody who does crime for notoriety, leave them with it, not for me. I've just done anything I've done to make a better life for me and my kids.
What's one thing that you've done wrong that you regret to this day, you say?
More than one, to be honest with you. Go for it. There's some I probably can't talk about, actually. Again, going back to what I said earlier on, normalising a lot of stuff. I know that's not a specific crime or anything like that. It's not more than what I've done, it's more the deep people I've dealt with, probably. That I just think I'd cross the road to avoid them now. Whereas I used to spend a lot of time with some people doing things with them.
We spent a lot of time on people who didn't deserve it, and it was a waste.
No, not a waste. It's just specifically just people's moral compass. I've done a lot of naughty shit in my life, but I've also had a moral compass as well. Like I've been in this scenario, I won't go into specifics, where something to do with fraud, where someone I knows you can tell on the phone, not in a good position in life, but they're perhaps a bit vulnerable. I've swerved them away from it. But then I spoke to the arrogant guy who's exporting something abroad. I thought, you're having it, mate. So I've always had that little moral compass there with stuff.
So we're not just talking about theft of cars, and we're talking about theft of other things.
Oh, no, I've done. Like I said, I'd sit there. If you come to me with something and said, I've got an idea for this, I'd sit and work. I'd sit and put my heart and soul into the best way of doing it to make money and be naughty.
And
Not specifically making noise, already sort of in that way, if you know what I mean.
so if somebody did business with you in a criminal capacity, they were likely to get burned by it, do you think? Or
No, not by me. No, not by me. There's a lot of people that don't do what they say they're going to do.
were you making money for other people as well as yourself?
I've made money with other people, yeah. I've always sort of put myself first with stuff as well. If I'm doing it. I want to earn my bit from it as well.
How much do you think you've made over your criminal career, if we can call it that?
Not a clue, probably can't go into it. I've lost more than I've made, probably. I'm by no means a millionaire. I don't claim to be a big criminal or a mastermind, like I've said before, but I've done all right out of it. But I also know anything I've got or had has been done, made by legal means now, because is transferable skills.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that do naughty stuff that I sit and look at them and think, you could run a company with 500 people working for you because you're clever, you're switched on, but this is what you know. And also sometimes society pushes you that way as well, because it is hard to be proper. It's hard work to you run a business. There's no one doing you no favours.
Nope.
Yep. And it is hard work to do it. And I can see why people, and normal, I brought a house once off a guy who'd been repossessed. And I sat here with him in the pub. A couple of days later, I'd only just found out it was his house. I said, what happened? How did I get repossessed? He says, I had a company, and the insurance companies I was working for wouldn't pay me in time. He said, so I had to factor the invoices where you get paid from a factoring company and they take 10%. And he started doing fraudulent invoices to get paid quicker. This is all because big insurance companies wouldn't pay him in time for his business. He ended up losing his ass, going to prison for 18 months. That man was the nicest person you'd ever meet, not bad bone in his body.
Yeah.
And I just think that the system was designed to fuck him.
Yeah.
But the people at the top of it, the big insurance companies, they probably still never paid him to this day.
No, well, they don't have to because
I've been done over on a critical illness cover. I had critical illness cover and I declared everything. I had a heart scan in 2019. I didn't declare it because my doctor said it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it. My insurance company just knocked me back for a £50,000 claim. Said we won't pay you for your critical illness, although you had what you had, because you didn't tell us about the heart scan. I said, yeah, but there's nothing wrong with it. My doctors have admitted liability and said we didn't tell him there's nothing wrong with it, but we didn't tell him that. And so the doctors are liable, the insurance company's liable. Who's the one that's lost the money? Me, because I haven't got hundreds of thousands to chuck at a solicitor.
Were you in perfect health until that point, would you say?
I thought I was. But I've always been fairly healthy. But I've also, one extreme on the other, I'd train my bollocks off, lose a bit of weight, but then I'd go on a binge drink. Then once you drink and take drugs, then you start eating shit because your body's craving more coke. So what you then do is you'll have a McDonald's, you'll have some crap food. You can't be bothered to stay in bed all day, and then you'll eat your phone and lose some money for that day. And then it's a bit of a snowball, really.
So as far as you knew, were you doing your well-man checks for the doctor things? Because you're getting them at 40, right?
I never got one. Yeah. I did have a bit of a panic when, like I said, the heart scan in 2019. And I've got the phone call recorded on my doctor that said it's fine, don't worry about it. And that's what the reason that the big insurance companies used to knock me back for me claim. But then I was just a snub. I never thought I was going to get that money off the insurance company. I sat there and thought, I know they're going to fuck me one way or another. And I said to the guy on the phone from the insurance company when they was telling me, I said, I've dealt with crooks and gangsters my whole life. I said, you lot are the biggest fucking gangsters I've ever dealt with. The way you word things and work around small print. I said, just get off my fucking phone.
So you know about Luigi Mangione? Mangione? The guy in America. So he basically...
It's the fuel guy.
He walked up to the CEO of a healthcare company, a medical.
Yeah. Sorry.
He was shot him in the back and the head or the back, I think. And it sparked this whole debate again, as things do, you know, about whether or not it was morally justified.
Well, it's not morally justified, but it's the only way to get his point across.
Yeah, well...
Can you imagine how many phone calls, emails, times he's been put on hold, how many times he's been told, sorry, sir, we can't help you, to get to that point?
So if you don't give the public an illusion of control, then they're liable to kill you, maybe. So he did what he did. And I believe the healthcare company who the CEO worked for had a bit of a panic because of the discourse and about the murder.
No, they panicked over. They probably panicked over the share price.
Well, what they started doing apparently is approving more claims, right? And their backers,
underwriters.
I don't know all the details, but I think I know which company it is. They were backing them on underwriting, and they effectively took that company to court because they started approving more claims.
It's a business at the end of the day. That's what it is.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because
we don't know how lucky we are with our NHS.
Yeah. You can legally dictate what percentage of people are approved regardless of whether they're sick and genuine or not, which is...
If you work in sales, you have a target. I worked in sales, like I said before, when I used to knock doors and sell gas and electricity.
Yeah.
We had a target of 2 sales, 2 gas, 2 electric per day. They didn't give a fuck how we got 2 gas, 2 electric per day. They don't care if I signed some old lady over on a wheelie bin and just told her, sign that, you're going to get a free Marks and Spencer's voucher.
Yeah.
Or if I'd done the job properly. And my little moral compass there was, if an old lady come to the door, an old fella, I'd say to him, when's your son or daughter here? I'll pop back in the area. Because I know at the end of that, it's going to be an angry relative.
Yeah.
But the women on the cast estates, I just flirt with them, and that was brilliant. I just signed them over on the wheel bin. Then
Well, that's one way.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a special place in the house people call.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. But them targets had to be met, and the company we work for didn't give a fuck how we got them targets. And it's the same with the healthcare thing.
Yeah.
Let's say you pay out 75% of claims, they've got to be 25% not back. You know what I mean? And yeah, it is wrong.
That's got no relation to the validity of the claims. It can't do.
Of course it hasn't. Everything should be on its own merit.
So you've been a victim of that in a way.
It was just another scenario where I've been fucked over by something that should be there to protect you. And this is why I had my mindset when I started doing what I did when I was younger. Whereas I know the government's going to fuck me over if they can. It's I know it's a horrible mindset to have, but it is true.
Yeah.
Do you know when I got raided by the police? Whenever I've been raided by the police, the first thing they do is take assets. First thing they'll do is take cars, logbooks, private number plate, retention certificates, any money in your house, jewellery. They'll take it. You've then got to prove where it's come from.
Yeah.
Last time I got raided by the police, I said to the cop, I goes, I had 5 or 6 lads rush my house 15 years ago to try and rob me. Didn't get away with nothing. We dealt with it. I said, but that's what it felt like when the police come to my house last time. I said, you were just after finances and money. And that's when they done the fuck up where it was the wrong person. It was the wrong Russ Lee.
Yeah. You got it all back.
Got everything back, yeah. Yeah, everything back. But it ruined my business. I had a business. They raided the business. They raided the flat upstairs, which was a young couple with a kid. They raided the landlord's garage and house next door. I then got released a couple of days later, next day later, and the landlord said to me, I've got to evict you. I can't have that on these premises. I said, I understand.
Is there any kind of avenue for a compensation there for you?
Probably. I won't do it because you put a target on your back.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. But
You think the police would have a vendetta if you claimed deals?
100%. 100%. Anybody that doesn't think the police have vendettas are in a position to use it still is 100%. You can put a marker on your own back.
I've never, I mean...
You think about it. If you're an inspector, if you're a sergeant and you're in charge of a certain 10 coppers in an area, and there's one person that's making grief for you, you're going to target him. And I thought to myself, a solicitor did say to me, you can go, once they drop your charges, you can go to this solicitors who are a police complaint specialist. I went, why do I want to do that? She went, it's cost you your business because they raided your ass. It affected my mental health a little bit at the time as well. Obviously what happened a couple of months after that. So that could have been attributed to that. Yeah. They detained my son all day while he's in the house. He's 23, he's 24. He's not, he's not a daft lad, but he said, Dad, they kept me there all day while they're raiding the house. It fucked a lot of things up for me. It cost, I had a stocking loan with my business. If you were a finance company, say, here's so much money. You use this money to buy cars, you pay us when they sell. They revoked that stocking loan the day after the raid.
Really?
When my tenancy got ended and they're on you, they check it.
Yeah.
They audit stuff immediately.
Yeah.
And they said, because you're not at the premises, we've got to revoke it. It started to be settled straight away. The police took a forklift off we drive that had just been delivered to us loaded scrap cars when we were buying non-runners. They sent him out to the lease company, and the lease company billed me £18,000 loss. I'd had it for 3 days. They said, but because you're in breach of your lease, it has to be in your possession. The police had it, we got it back off them. We've resold it at auction. It was £18,000. Because I never even signed it. And this was all down to the police raid.
Cool.
But unless one of the solicitors I spoke to said, we want 10 grand retainer, then we'll entertain it. And another one says, we'll look at it. And I thought, you know what? He's just going to put a target on me back, so I'm not bothering. And the copper brought me stuff back. And he says, the closer I got to an apology, he says, we had to come, you know that, don't you? I goes, actually, I don't know. I said, but whatever it is, I'm not bothered.
How are you recovering from that now?
It killed that business. It killed my car business. And I've changed my life a lot since then. So I look at everything on the plus side. Every cloud has a silver lining. And I look at that as, for me, it was
It's a good mindset.
Well, the reason being is because no one gives a fuck otherwise. The world doesn't care. If your business is about to go under, you sit and tell someone, 9 out of 10 people is going to go, oh, I don't give a fuck, it's his business.
Some people be glad.
Some people are happy because they're jealous. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. It's the same when you tell people your goals, they think you're bragging. They shouldn't tell people your goals, you just tell them, show them.
Somebody worked for a guy, and every time he used to go to him with a problem, he used to go, good.
Yeah.
Car's just broken down. Good. With fire alarms going off every day. Good. Because every single thing that happened was, when you overcome that, you want to start closer to your goal.
Yeah.
It's not a nice thing to say, but do you think living the life that you lived, and you presumably hurt people the way that you were hurt by the police, do you think there's like a bit of a balance happening there where if you're going to have this good life now as a comedian and you're going to be happy and be around good people, do you think maybe to a degree you need to pay that debt and maybe experience what it's like to...
I believe in the universe. I'm not a religious person, but I believe the universe. And I think,
equilibrium.
yeah, not like karma, but I do believe that you sort of get out where you put in these people that take a picture when they give an homeless man a sandwich. I can't abide that, but
Yeah.
I'll quite happily, my missus to back me up on this. If I'm on the street, I'll take someone into a Subway and I'll buy them a meal. My missus goes, you shouldn't give them money, they're going to spend it on drugs. I'll say, well, I'm going to spend it on drugs. The little me a favour. They're living in a Subway. They're not going to buy a fucking coffee table.
Yeah.
But I put a lot of good out there over the years. If I've helped a lot of people that are less fortunate or perhaps struggling, and this is from my upbringing where I've seen my mum struggle. And I put a lot of good out there as well in my life. I've done a lot of naughty shit, but I like to think I've sort of picked what I've done with that. And
Do you feel like right now you're a level?
What, with the universe?
With the universe, yeah.
No.
You got more payback to.
I've got more payback to give you.
What's that going to look like?
That's going to look like me just being genuine and being me. The thing about this podcast, I thought if I come on this and some people that don't like me from my past or whatever, or have got a grievance, they're probably going to sit and look and God, he's talking shit. It's just me now, that's it. I'm being me, and if I can put some good out in the world and make some people laugh, I'll do that. But for me, the comedy as well is, I went to diet therapy for a little bit. I thought I'd try it because my head was puddled with a couple of things. And the therapist said, you need to speak to people. And I rang her up, funny enough, because I said I need to speak to people. I've just done it 300 people on stage. She goes, not really what I meant.
Yeah.
I goes, but you know what? It was the best therapy, and it was better than any drug I've ever done coming off that stage.
Have you had a diagnosis?
With this?
With mental health, yeah.
No, we'd done some tests a while ago and it come back as ADHD and stuff like that. I didn't really read much into it because you sort of know. I hate it when people introduce yourself as a vegan or this is my child, he's got ADHD. Don't label yourself. It's part of your personality and who you are. That's it. You know, if they'd done all the tests when I was a kid to do that, fuck me out of them, Ritalin and everything.
Yeah.
But it's you are what you are and you deal with what you've got.
Have you been medicated on it?
No. I've got paracetamol in my bag because when I wake up after what happened, I have brain fog every morning. This is another reason I'm teetotal. I don't drink at all anymore.
And the paracetamol also?
The paracetamol, on the brain ward, on the neurosurgeons, they've all said paracetamol, you've got to keep it in your bloodstream. And your brain fog comes from when your brain's swelling up a bit, where the channels have been bruised in it, and the paracetamol, just keep it.
Is that going to get better over time?
They said, where you're at after 6 months is sort of where you stay.
You had a stroke last year.
Subarachnoid brain hemorrhage. I asked the neurosurgeon I sat with, and I was quite open and honest with him about lifestyle. And he says he can't justify some of the things I told him. He couldn't pinpoint it to any of them. It was just life.
Did he perform surgery?
No, didn't have to surgery, didn't have to clip it or anything or cut it open. It was just a bleed that had popped and it fills a cavity between your membrane and your skull with blood. It was Christmas Day.
Oh, it happened on Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, I was cooking Christmas dinner for 16 people with a bag of frozen chips strapped to my head because I thought I had a hangover.
Oh.
And then it got to the pain point where I couldn't do anything, so they rang an ambulance. They rushed me in, said, once they'd done the scan, they said, is his family here? Because we're not sure on this.
And how long has it been now?
7 months. 7 months. So I'm sort of where I'm at. But when I came out of the hospital, I knew that if I went back to my old life, I'm not doing myself any favours and I deserved whatever happened to me after that. I don't consider myself unlucky having what happened to me. I think it was the best thing that happened in my life.
Yeah, well, that's that thing, isn't it? Yeah. Because you had a stroke. Good.
Yeah. Biggest wake-up call I've ever had. Yeah.
What are you grateful for right now?
Health. People around me that are good. Finding out who's good around me. Money's neither in or there. It comes and goes. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. But it is nice to have a few quid every now and then. You can experience life with it. But for me now, it's opportunities. And I'm grateful for opportunities that are put in front of me. And that's why I said yes to this. Because if I'm asked to do something, I'll say yes to it and I'll go and do it. Not everything works in your favour, but at least you can say you've done it. And there's too many people. There's a couple of reasons I wanted to go into the comedy. First one is, you know, Christopher Causland, the blind comedian?
No.
He done Strictly Come Dancing and he's blind. And he won it.
I'm not a Strictly guy.
I'm irregular. My wife watches it, so that in turn means I'm a Strictly guy.
Sure.
But he's a blind comedian and he done Strictly. And I said to my miss, because if that man's brave enough to get up and dance when he's fucking blind in front of people, I've got to get some bollocks about me to get on this stage and do that and have a go at it.
Yeah.
And then another thing Snoop Dogg says, he said there's people sat on talents that can make a millionaires, but they're too scared to take that first step.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought. If I might be shit at this comedy, right? But I will give it my all. And if after a year or two, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, I'd knock it on the head. But at least I can say I've had to go with it.
Who are your main comedy inspirations?
The rich ones.
The rich one. Oh, we're talking Ricky Gervais.
No, I like Ricky Gervais. I've just done his, they had a show in Nottingham, just the tonic for his Dutch Barn vodka.
Yep.
And he had to get up and do a 2-minute set. And it was a good experience. That was the Ricky Gervais.
I love him.
The thing is, Ricky Gervais, he doesn't try to offend. He says what he thinks. And if you take offence from it, that's up to you.
I think there were a lot of attempts to cancel him, and I think they would have worked if at any point he'd have apologised.
They'd worked now, I think. He's been in it 25 years. That's how long ago The Office come out, wasn't it? I think if he tried starting off now, he'd struggle.
If he tried starting now, but the fact that he's resilient. I mean, I'm seeing comedians. There's a lot of commentary because we've just had the what's the guy called? Bob Dylan.
Oh, about this singer at Glastonbury.
Yeah. So he was shouting death to the IDF, and most Jewish people, because that they of who they are and where their families are in the world, they have links to Israel, and everybody in Israel has to serve time in the IDF. I think they're part of their national service. I think we could do a national service, but anyway. So
Make you work in wars.
I wouldn't put it past the government, actually. Start wars up and make us working at age 20.
Yeah, I just thought war's been gone for 20 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Well, not apparently. I think it's in Australia still. But so in a way, if you say death to the idea, you're saying death to the Jews.
But this is where you're on about the little bit of leftism. Glastonbury's very leftism, that, isn't it?
I don't think a single member of the crowd meant it.
Yeah. I don't want to meant it, but it's.
I think they were drunk and someone started shouting something.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you're in a society where something seems popular to say. People just follow. Let's wave this flag. Most of them probably haven't got a clue. The LGBT community saying all about the Palestine things. I can't see they get on that one over there, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's. I mean,
I've seen a meme of queers to Palestine, and it's somebody in London with a flag, and then queers in Palestine, it's somebody being chucked off of a building.
Yeah,
and it's not a very
visual.
But it's probably, I mean, very conservative, strict country, and there are a lot of very conservative, strict countries when it comes to sexuality, and I feel like sometimes people will reduce everything down to a small soundbite. And I think, the issue in Gaza is horrific, and what's happening in Gaza is horrific. But what happened at the festival was also horrific. And
that guy's done that there, yeah, because I'd never heard of Bob Dylan until then.
That's true. But I think cancel culture, it just goes to show that cancel culture is dead, because yes, all of his big American gigs have been cancelled. He's banned from the US, but he's also infinitely more famous than he was.
Yeah.
It's a great shame, really, because the best thing to do with that, when you're chanting for the death of an entire people, is to not give that person oxygen to keep doing it,
Of course. And well, it was the chanting about 6 years ago, Glastonbury, fucking Jeremy Corbyn. Where's he now?
Yeah.
So,
well, he's just started a new political party.
Yeah, he won't go anywhere.
You can chant.
He's probably a nice bloke, though, Christmas Day, on Christmas Day he gives meals out to the homeless.
Yeah.
He's not a champagne socialist. He's not like, he's not a sir.
I mean, he's probably like a decent net worth. I think with Jeremy Corbyn, he's very much who he was 20 years ago, 40 years ago. He's been very consistent. He rages against the machine and he fights for what he believes in.
My problem with that sort of politics, I don't stay on politics too long, but my problem with sort of is they don't see the cracks. It's all right saying, I'm Labour, we want to look after the people that need it. I'm all up for that. I was brought up with a single parent family. But what they don't see the abuse that goes on. Now at the minute, they're trying to do the PIP payments and drop it all. And the amount of people I know that are on PIP that are not disabled.
Yeah.
And you just think, listen, again, it doesn't affect me, but they're not disabled. They don't need it. And they're just going through the cracks in this system to do it. And they're the people that should be targeted for it. You know what I mean? And it's just that's sort of what Labour's trying to get at, but without saying that mainstream.
Yeah.
They're trying to get to the people that shouldn't be on it.
Yeah.
And then there's fucking millions.
You don't have a scalpel that sharp. You can't cut around.
No. So what they'll do is they'll just start rejecting everybody's claim and see who comes back.
But people will die.
I got told after mine you can claim this, can claim that, can claim that. I got offered £14 a month.
Yeah.
They said that was it. And I was like, I'd been in bed for 6 weeks, not really been able to move, and I filled some forms out online and I got offered 14.
So what is your situation? I mean, are you working? Are you not? Do you not need to work
I'm doing
anymore?
comedy. I'm on a year off doing comedy.
But financially, in terms of maintaining your life, how's that happening?
I've not got an extravagant life. I haven't got cars on finance, I haven't got stuff like that.
But you're getting by with that.
Fine. I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm doing. There's no big holidays planned. There's no big expenditure spend. I live in my family home. We're all right. But I'm following a little bit of what I want to do. Now, when you're a dad at a young age, been a dad since I was 18, sorry, I was born. So my adult life has been, once you've got kids, it's not about you, it's about your kids. So my adult life has been about that. My boys are all in their 20s now, they're all self-sufficient. When I nearly died, I could have died happily knowing that they'd look after the mum.
Yeah.
Knowing I've raised 3 good boys, but it's mostly down to her. I always say it's mostly down to her. But knowing I'll leave with 3 good boys behind, I'm following what I want to do for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And I've always had to. Even when we go back to being a bit of a crook, I just got into it. I didn't know how to leave it.
Was the fact that you had pressures of like, having children part of the motivator to commit crimes?
No, greed. Because people,
You would have done the same things with or without kids.
I can't answer because I'd be a different person. I think kids saved my life, because if not, I'd have been fucking doing all sorts. When you've got families, you've got consequences. There's situations I've walked away from in life that I've walked away from because of them, where I didn't want the repercussions, or I didn't want that, or I didn't want this. So they've saved me shit over the years. They've done more for me than I've ever done for them.
Going back to mushrooms, because it's kind of relevant to the point of this show. When you said you had mellow experiences, what was that? Like, what did you experience? Specifically on psychedelics.
I had them in Amsterdam.
Okay.
I was next to a canal, one of the canals, and we just sat there, and it was with my youngest son, and he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, and he said, Dad, I'm going to do mushrooms. I said, I went out there and with you then.
Yeah.
And it was a very loving experience. It was we were there with each other. There's some tracks and traces and stuff like that. There was no mad shit going on, but we just mellowed.
Did you feel a connection to anything beyond you and your son?
The sky.
Yeah.
The breath, the freeness of,
Like it's all on life.
yeah, it was just life around me. I could feel, when you can feel everything around you. And I just felt everything around me.
What did your son experience?
He was fucking hilarious. And he just sat there taking his rings off, took his belt off, took his wallet out. He's like, Dad, look after it.
Yeah.
And he's passing it to me. And fully enough, the funniest thing about this is the lad that stabbed me was with us. He was my son's mate. Before he stabbed me, I'd have been fucking
Did he do it as well?
No. He's a weedhead.
I probably wouldn't have stabbed you.
Hey, do you know what? Do you know what? He had no money and he couldn't eat on that weekend away because he was spending all his money on weed. So I brought his food for him.
Yeah.
Was in a Chinese, get a Chinese, because I'll pay for it for you.
God.
And I walked in my bar at home, digress, sorry, and he sat there with my son and 3 other lads, and I walked out the bar, and this before I even met, first time I met him, I said to my son, watch him, he's a Roman.
Yeah.
Well, I clocked him straight away, because I've got a good eye, because he's a Roman, he'll fuck you over if he can. My son went, no, son, I goes, trust me, that kid's a Roman.
He could well have killed your son.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
500 quid.
And that was one of my fears. I'm so glad I answered that front door. Because my mum lives in a little granny flat I built her on the side of our house.
Yeah.
She could have gone out.
Yeah.
The judging summing up, I lit this online, and they were talking like they were from Top Boy, these 3 little white boys from the village were talking like they're from Top Boy, and the judge even said in his summing up, I don't know who you 3 think you are. Real criminals would eat you alive. But don't talk like you black gangsters, you little white kids from a village. That's what the judge said in this summing up.
And that's on the court record.
That's on the court. It's in the Evening Post on the thing.
Oh.
Yeah, and the judge says it. You're not black gangsters. You're little white kids from a village. And I thought, you know what? I know it is energy down. I started reading on the internet, laughing my bollocks off at that, because they're just and they would get out in jail or anywhere else.
More people aspire to this criminal lifestyle.
It's glamorized.
When I was a kid, I never thought, well, if I lie, cheat and steal, I won't be bright. I was very poor growing up.
Yeah.
And I never grew up aspiring. My aspiration was to maybe get a job that, might pay me a few hundred quid a week. I thought that'd be amazing.
I had, apart from being the youngest shit that I'd done, once I got my first job, my intent was to make money and be proper. I always wanted my own window business. And I got fucked over by the guy doing that. My brother has been to university He works for a big company. He designs firewalls. He had to sign some paperwork to say he has nothing to do with me at work 10 years ago because I flagged up as a red flag.
Yeah. Has your wife's career been impacted anymore? Is she still?
No, she's had people concerned about her at work when they've seen stuff on the paper.
As in her well-being, making sure.
As in, is everything all right?
Okay, yeah.
And you know, would this come to work? Does this affect your work in any way? But she's sort of her own entity, my wife, and she's good at what she does as well. You know, she works a pupil referral unit. So
Yeah.
and a lot of people joke saying, "Fuck me, you take your work home with him, don't you?"
Yeah.
But no, she's not been impacted in it in that way, which is another reason why I've sort of left stuff behind as well. Because when my family was younger, there was never any impact there. As you get older, I don't want someone saying to my son in the pub, "Oh, your dad's that so and so into."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want that. I'd rather them go, "Your dad, I've seen that video on TikTok. He's funny as fuck."
Yeah.
I'd rather that. But I wish I'd matured a lot younger than I did. And I've done it. It's took me to my 40s to fucking, but it's the brain hemorrhage that switched it on for me, actually, more than anything.
Well, it was a near-death experience, and I'm really interested to speak to people who've had near-death experiences in a different capacity. We have a lady coming next week who's got a story to tell about that. But did you experience anything otherworldly around the time of your stroke? Sometimes people see loved ones who, you know.
No, I tell you, all it done for me is I've never been in hospital for anything apart from being stabbed. And that was in and out. You don't keep you in for it.
Wow.
I was in the hospital and I thought I'd always fight being in there if I ever to be in hospital, and I didn't. I sat there and I thought, I've got to be here, especially once I had my little mong out experience in the middle of the night. I've got to be, and I just chilled and went with it.
And
for me, before I'd have just been enraged sitting still. And the whole experience was an eye-opener. And I looked out of a window at the hospital and I looked at the university building opposite. And now when I drive past that university building, I always think the same thought I had when I was in the hospital bed. And I thought, if I get out of here okay and I can do shit, I'm doing shit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit on my arse and just carry on living the life I'm lived.
How does your wife feel about the stand-up?
She loves it, supposedly.
Yeah.
You know what? She's quite critical as well. Like, no, I said to her on the first one, because do you really want to come? Because I went, a lot of it's about you.
Oh dear.
But someone came up to us after a gig and said to my wife, "Oh, did you really masturbate after sex?" And she went, "It is fucking stand-up. It's not real. You know that, don't you?"
Jesus. God.
But no, she's very, very supportive, and she's very like, "Yeah, do it, enjoy it." But she did say the same thing as well. Make sure you enjoy it. Because when I used to do a bit of boxing, I never enjoyed it. There's always anxiety around it because it's a constant. And my guy who used to train me, he said, "If you're not enjoying it, don't do it, Russ."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I'm here now. I might as well crack on. I've done it."
True of anything.
Yeah. But you know, with the comedy, after the first few gigs, I'm enjoying it now.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. And I've realised you have a good gig, you have a bad gig, you have a good crowd, you have a bad crowd. But you're sort of responsible for what you take to the stage. And I'm trying to set my A game every time. And I've got a long way to go with it and a lot to learn. But
bear in mind everywhere that you've been 5 years from now, then where do you want to, where do you want to be?
I mean, I don't aim too big. The O2 would be all right.
I think there's one in Leeds.
Yeah.
That's pretty decent, actually.
I want to be doing what I want to be doing. I'm not bothered about my days of worrying and thinking about being a millionaire and stuff like that. That don't mean shit anymore. It means nothing for me. I want to be doing what I love, what I want to do. And that's where I want to be at. And I'd say to anybody that's on a path that they feel they can't get out of, that have lived a life for that long, they feel it, you can. But you've got to want to do it. No one can do it for you. You've got to stop doing it. You've got to stop dealing with the people. You've got to make the changes.
You've got to act on the thing that excites you the most, because that energy will go into making it better.
Yeah. And you know what? Some people say, you know, you can be whatever you want in life. You can't. You can, if you're good at it in the hiring, you possibly can. But you've got to give it a go. Because if you don't, no one's going to do it for you.
Well, on that, I wish you the best of luck with it. I'll be keeping an eye out. I'll be following you. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.